for word, you made shit up. It does not say they're having many, many problems. That is not word for word. You made it up. It does not say they're having great difficulty. That is not word for word. You made it up.
Is there a link?
Yeah,
Well,
I'd like to see a link to what he's reading.
Yeah, I got it.
Oh, cool.
Oh yeah, I forgot I have Rocky blocked. Whoops.
Like I say, I don't think, and you guys know, you couldn't seriously take
There's a
this
link to what you're
idea
describing.
out into the real world anywhere. You couldn't go on the news and say, look, we've decided that gravimeters aren't working, and as a result of this, there's no such thing as gravity. It would be ridiculous, and you know it.
People running around with these devices measuring random stuff. Doesn't give any real answers. They don't know what's down there. They don't find ore deposits with it. No, don't have any idea.
Yeah, I timestamped this video. This is the center I was talking about, the NERC Space Geodesy Facility in the UK. This is where they have a machine there, a very, very sophisticated gravimeter that takes readings all the time. But this video, that timestamped.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah,
It seems
to me that
read this.
anytime that there's an argument that comes out with evidence that's like, oh gosh, this is really a bit of a nail in the coffin, another nail in the coffin for flat Earth. Well, there's got to be some way we can nitpick it to be wrong.
Well,
yeah, and one thing here, give me a second. So you cherry picked that bit, and you forgot to mention the last bit, Raquel. It says, therefore, a periodical check of the long-time stability of the calibration factor functions both of the LCR and the feedback system is required. And it goes on, but I mean, it's basically telling you that you need to check this equipment and calibrate it every, so often to get it to work properly.
Yeah, he conveniently.
Yeah, how does he think that they get calibrated?
Yeah. So next time you decide to read something or quote it from a source, Raquel, make sure you read all of it and not just the bit that agrees with what you want to have agree with you.
I bet he thinks that they just guess for their calibration.
It also says additional calibration procedures are necessary immediately before and after high precise gravity measuring campaigns to determine possible irregular variations of the LCR and feedback calibration factors. So, yeah, you didn't read the whole thing. You didn't read the whole thing. You did not read, no, you didn't read it word for word. You liar.
Yes, I did. I just
no,
read
you
the
did.
same
You
thing
didn't.
you
Did you read that last bit? You didn't read that last bit out, did you?
You just read. I read it out word for word.
No, you didn't. You
Yes,
stopped where it says that the scale factor function of the LCR D9. You didn't read the rest of it.
Word for word, read it out.
No,
the same source
you left parts out. You fucking liar.
You left out.
Did I miss some part of the discussion? Because they were trying to argue about pressure and temperature variance being a factor, and yet now it's shifted to this paper here, which discussed explicitly time variations.
Because now we need to know the difference, the variation in the measurements. What's your error bar, your plus or minus? Because you're measuring a very minute amount, so we need to know if this is within the error bar even or not. We don't even know.
This machine is measuring mass attracting mass, correct?
Essay, you should probably take a backseat until you figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
Really?
Because
Let's do this.
No, because that's
genius.
that's not what. No, that's not what we were talking about at all. Actually,
do you know how this machine works?
I'm not even going to touch that.
It's a force meter.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, isn't it?
Force,
it's a machine that measures the force.
Oh, it's not measuring mass attracting mass?
Well, it would be because the machine's got a mass, the Earth's got a mass. So yeah, technically you're right.
So this would be a Newtonian
Explain to me how relative density is.
Hold on.
Hang on.
So this would be a Newtonian gravity machine, correct?
What?
Hold on. This would be a Newtonian gravity machine, correct?
No.
As you are blissfully unaware, Einstein did not disprove or replace Newton.
No, give up, essay.
Right. You see how nonsensical this
How
thing
would
is?
that differ in its measurement?
How would it differ in its measurement?
Yes.
Well, one is mass attracting mass, your ball being attracted to the earth, right?
Okay, so the
And the
ending.
other one is the bending. Oh yeah, sure. Interrupt me in my mid-sentence. Go ahead.
Okay, so then that will change the effects. How will that change the weight or the velocity?
One is, I repeat, one is mass attracting mass, the ball and the gravimeter going down, and the other one is the bending of the fabric of space-time.
Okay, in the end.
What is the result of the bending of the fabric of space? Hold on.
Ridiculous.
Hold on. What is the result of the bending of space-time? Mass going towards other mass, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I was
No,
about to say,
it's your brain
can someone
exploding.
No, hang on, SA. Can you explain to me exactly what he just said? Can you explain to me how relative density isn't masses attracting other masses?
No, you gotta explain that to me. You explain to me how this machine
relative
of yours,
density, which is also referred to as specific gravity, is one mass attracting another mass, isn't it? Well, the relative density of one thing is going towards the density of the other. So how is that not mass attracting mass?
Don't do that, please.
Yeah.
Disrespectful, man.
So, like I was saying, you rude prick.
He did. Go ahead, Montreal. Say what you got to say.
Thank you, Jim. What I was saying was. Yeah, okay. I get it.
Go ahead, Montreal.
So what I was simply trying to say is this machine measures mass attracting mass. That would be Newtonian gravity. Now, the Einsteinian gravity is a totally different concept.
Incorrect.
Let him finish.
Yeah, agree.
Did you forget what I said to you, SE? SE, did you forget what I just said just moments ago?
Let him finish, please, because otherwise we're being hypocrites.
Did he finish? I think he might have done. I'm not sure. How do you finish, Montreal?
Yeah, I'm finished. Go ahead.
Sorry. Go ahead, guys. Sorry.
Okay, the measurement result will vary now based upon these two, this understanding.
Well, let's let that Saraki. Was that Saraki or Doofus?
You're asking me how the difference of one fantasy over the other fantasy works? Is that what you're trying to do?
Sure. You're saying there's a difference. I wonder what the difference is. And what would be the implication?
I'll repeat it once again. One is mass attracting mass. The other one is the bending of the fabric of space-time. A total nonsensical thing.
Both of those manifest as a force, right?
No, not at all.
Okay.
I just want to ask you a couple of questions because you tend to find that this lack of information that we have is really problematical.
Gravity's not.
You just failed hard today, SE.
And the questions I want to ask, SE, can you answer three things for me? How far is it across the flat Earth? What's the distance to the moon? And can you explain why, if density equilibrium is what's holding everything to Earth, why is vacuum a problem? Because surely the air is more dense than the vacuum.
Would you like me to pick a lotto ticket out for you as well?
Just look, the answer to that is who knows, okay? That's what the flat Earth answer is. Who knows?
Yeah, Jake's right.
So if you've got a problem with the fact that you can't substantiate any reasonable point on the Earth being flat apart from, well, it just kind of colloquially looks that way, why do you think it's flat?
So this is what happened. Now let's go back here. We were talking about the two different gravities. I smashed your argument. Now you're asking me three questions about your fantasy. Doesn't work like that.
No, I'm asking three questions about your fantasy. Those three questions were about your fantasy.
So you
not
concede
mine.
about the gravimeter? You concede about the two gravities?
No. There's only one type of gravity, and when you have bending of space-time, the effect is mass attracts mass. So at that point, we make you fucking hundreds of times, and the fact that we use Newton in Einstein's equations, they're based on Newton with an additional. So I don't know what you're talking about when you talk about these two different types of gravity. There's only one type of gravity.
I'll explain it to you. You are delusional. a man 50 years ago, whatever the time period was, told you a story that you can take time, mix it up with a fabric, and bend it and make things attracted to it. You
Jesus fucking
are
Christ.
delusional, sir.
Well,
Do you
again, that's
understand
not
that?
explaining why I'm wrong. That's just making a
You
claim that
have
you,
been
again,
sold a
like
bag
your
of
flat
goods.
earth essay, you can't substantiate. You can call me delusional all you want. You can't tell me why I'm delusional. You can only ad hom either me or try and poison the well when it comes to the argument that's put forward, which is silly.
No. You have been sold a bag of goods. It doesn't matter
Well,
if
that's
the
your
earth is a
claim.
triangle. Listen to me.
Let
It doesn't matter if the earth is a triangle. I assure you, 100% certainty that there is no such thing as the fabric of space-time, sir.
Well, it doesn't make any. Let's say the fabric of space-time is wrong. We've got that whole thing wrong. It seems to have some good, consistent explanatory power, but we're wrong. There's no fabric of space. We still have the observation of gravity, which is things accelerating towards mass on Earth at 9.8 meters per second squared minus drag. Yeah, and that is fucking consistent.
Since the
and we
beginning,
observe that effect all throughout the solar system. Now, we may not know the absolute cause
no,
to
you
it.
don't observe that effect throughout
Yeah,
the.
we
No,
do.
no.
Yep,
You're dreaming.
because all the planets are consistent to that argument.
Negatory.
Their position to it. The fact that we orbit around the sun is consistent to that.
You're
the
wrong.
Fact that we can launch probes
100%
into
wrong. If you
space,
stop talking, I can prove you wrong.
You're preaching.
And again,
You're
I
preaching.
don't
Preach. It's a
claim that I'm
sermon.
wrong. I want your explanation of why.
I'll explain to you why.
So everybody can get in.
Sorry, you're right. I was too long.
I'd still like to know how, relative density isn't mass attracting other mass.
Relative density. Dude, listen to me. You have two stories.
Which is also...
Okay? Listen up.
It's also... Hang on. Relative density is also referred to in scientific circles as specific gravity, SA.
No, you're wrong.
Yes. No, I'll post the link. I'll post the link.
Listen up, dude. You've been indoctrinated. Since caveman, when a caveman threw a rock in the air, he knew if he didn't move out of the way, he would hit him in the head.
That's not the question I asked.
Anything new.
That's not the question I asked, SA. No, what I asked, hang on, SA, stop. What I asked was,
you're cutting me off.
No,
you're cutting me off
because you're babbling. You're not answering the question that I asked, which was, how is relative density not one mass attracting another?
He was like 10 words into it, and you cut him off.
He's not going to listen to your question.
No, he wasn't answering anything, Jeremy. He was fucking babbling.
It doesn't matter, man. He thinks you're.
You would think someone would mute him.
You think he's
believe whatever you want. I'm done with you.
You would think you would be muted by now.
Yeah. We have two stories. Simple, guys. There's nothing any of you can prove here. We have two stories. One is mass attracting mass, never been proven. The other one is the fabric of space-time thereof. That is ridiculous.
Mass attracting mass was established pretty good. It's well proven.
Yeah. Sure.
And again, hang on. No, again, he's avoiding the point of the question that I asked was, how is relative density not one mass attracting the other? Please explain that to me.
I got an image in the chat for everybody to look at.
Dave, I wasn't asking you.
What are you talking about? You're not asking me.
I wasn't talking to you, Dave. I was talking to SE.
No, but I just need somebody to do me a favor. Because somebody take that picture and flip it up.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
Save it. I'm gonna do a little. Just turn it upside down, then I'll download it. All right, go ahead.
See, I think what everybody's saying to you, and what Cypher is asking of you, is whether you say it's relative density, but let's not say that. Let's say mass attracting mass and curvature of space-time. They're not two different ideas. The curvature of space-time is a supposed explanation for why mass appears to be attracting mass. So it's the same idea. It's a more explicit answer.
No, Kosho. They're fundamentally different. Fundamentally.
Can you actually provide a paper, a citation, or something that says that they are? Because everything I've read in my life on this says they're not.
Oh, really? Really? Isn't one an instant? Let me prove you wrong right now. Okay? Isn't one an
includes the mathematics?
Here we fucking go. Isn't one an instant
he's not
force
answering the
while
question
the other one
posed
is
to him.
relative, gentlemen? Isn't one an instant force?
You know what's
and
funny
the
about
other
the
one
picture
is
David posted?
relative?
Yeah, David posted a picture just now, right? This
Now you want to talk about David's
No,
picture?
I'm talking about what
Okay.
you just said, SE.
Well, because you want a citation, SE, that's why.
The picture that David just posted was Einstein's. It's a illustration of Einstein's equivalence principle. So even though he states that the curvature of space-time is what causes this mass attracting mass, he's saying that it's equivalent from any perspective, any scientific perspective or any observational perspective. It's equivalent to being in an accelerating frame. An accelerating frame is equivalent to being in a gravitational field. So being in a force field is equivalent to being in this acceleration that curvature of space-time creates. So they're basically equivalent. There's no point to say it's not one and it is the other.
You couldn't be any more wrong if you tried. You couldn't. If you tried, you couldn't be any more wrong.
It's not true. He's right.
Can I
I'll
give you
tell
a
you
quick
why.
example of superseded? Because back in the day when I was a kid, there were vinyl and tape. All right, I'll talk for cassettes, VHS movies and cassettes, right? Radio cassettes, 8-track. I had some. They were superseded by CDs. Then we have CDs, music, and DVDs for movies. But those were actually superseded today because we don't buy no more. We got online media. So therefore, cassettes and CDs never existed. They don't work. They don't exist. That's a good analogy because they still work. We can still listen to music. We can still watch movies in cassettes and CDs. It's not that they never existed or they don't work. It still works. That same thing happened with gravity. Now we got a better, more elaborated example. It's kind of the same thing.
It works.
I think it's more equivalent to your wife. She comes home every night because you think she's out with her girlfriends partying and drinking, and then you find out years later that she's been going out and banging a bunch of dudes every night.
Oh, that's why you've been upset lately.
Yeah, right.
No,
so,
it's different.
Nice
one, Kimo.
So the reality is that you have now a more explicit explanation for why these things are happening, and it doesn't mean that the other thing's not true. It just means that the other thing is now explained by this newer understanding.
No, a better example would be your wife.
Curvature of space-time actually gives the explanation for why mass attracts mass.
Okay, are you done? Okay, a better example would be your wife coming home one day, she's your wife, you slept with her, whatever, and she comes home one day with a schlong. That would be a better example because the two things could not be further apart.
Why? You started with that citation, by the way.
But SE, they've got this this Cavendish in a vacuum that we're yet to see. So, I mean, I think once we see that,
you've seen.
Kimo, shut up.
I can't wait to see that, Kimo. That's interesting.
Have you seen that?
That's a topic
you've seen it, Kimo.
Well, hold on, SE, have you seen that?
I think Kimo might just be an algorithm that just goes off every now and
then. Kimo is just repeating every single thing over and over again. It's fucking annoying.
Can I also?
So just to put to bed this argument before we move on.
Well, you still got to provide a citation, SE.
No, I'm not going to provide you no citations. I'm going to tell you the facts. The facts are this. One force is instantaneous and the other is relative. What that means is this.
The facts
one of the forces take the sun and the earth relationship, right? If the sun
neither one of them are instantaneous.
Whoa,
neither one of them are instantaneous.
Devastating, isn't it?
And so, SE, here's another fact.
Citation, please.
See how they don't let me finish the sentence? They know it's devastating.
We heard you.
Just get the Cavendish in a vacuum.
Can I just insert one thing?
Let Scott get in here, please.
Let me just insert one thing, guys. Here's another fact, though, about these two things, and I think this is really telling. I think as to what we mean when we say subsumed. With Einstein's field equations, if you look at those equations and start to figure out what all they imply, you can derive and end up with exactly the same equations as Newton had. Basically, Newton's equations are already embedded into Einstein's equations. They're there in there exactly as he wrote them already. So it's the same thing in that sense.
Absolutely wrong. You can math it all you want. The forces are fundamentally different.
Have you checked, SC? Have you checked?
One is mass attracting mass, and the other one is relative.
Well,
they cannot be any different, more different.
No, but SC, when we say mass attracting mass, we just mean that's the behavior that we see. Whether it's actually happening that way doesn't really matter, but it behaves as if the mass is attracting the mass. You could describe it that way.
Doesn't
and accurately
matter.
describe. I'm sorry, SC, can I finish? You could describe it that way, and it would be an accurate description of what you see in reality. Now, is it actually happening because of underlying curvature? Well, maybe.
Yes.
But that's what I'm saying is derivable from inside the field equations. You can get a way to look at it that looks exactly like Newton looked at it by using the equations and manipulating them in different ways.
Sure, manipulating.
And that's
doing
the
math.
point I was
Yeah,
trying to
sure,
make,
sure.
Scott. Yes.
Well said, Scott.
Like,
so look, SE, once they show you this observation of mass attracting mass in the vacuum, then we'll have
I'll become a baller.
Do you not
right
press
away.
the repeat button over and over again? I think it's broken.
SE hasn't seen it. I'm saying once SE sees this attraction, then obviously your argument will be slightly stronger.
Oh, okay, there you go. I posted it.
That's
I
funny,
tagged
but he had.
Timo, SE, but
Timo, I think everyone in this room can show you an experiment which follows
My
the
name's not
scientific method
SE.
to
SE
provide
said that's
evidence for gravity.
interesting. SE says it's interesting. He'd like to see it.
all right, well, I'll post it and tag SC this time. I've tagged you, Chemo, so I know you've read it. But I'll tag you,
The
SC.
gold
no
one.
problem.
Just show SE the observation of mass attracting mass in the vacuum, and I'm sure we'll all be happy.
All right, there it is.
Oh yeah, we're instant
it has to
gravity,
be-
Newtonian
it has to be a
gravity
video.
believers. Right
It
away.
has to be a
Timo.
YouTube video.
Yeah.
It's got to be an observation, hasn't it? Obviously, we didn't see writing in nature paper, did we?
Well, if I wanted to write down my observation that I've made in nature, is that a problem? Is that a way of communicating that information to a third party, Kima?
Oh,
Is
you
it an
mean you're
experiment?
going to show us a paper? They're going to show us a paper?
Is it an
Kimo? Is that what
experiment?
you're saying?
Okay, can I ask one quick question? So
The
anything
scientific
from
method disagrees with our position that we can use papers and descriptions of the experiment to provide evidence.
I like the way they pretend they're using a scientific method, but as soon as you start using one and producing a scientific paper, then, oh, well, it's not on a YouTube video. So what scientific method demands that things are in a YouTube video?
Well, it demands that the manipulator manipulates the independent variable.
Right, what's that got to do with a YouTube video?
Done via words.
Can't see the manipulator manipulate the independent variable.
Can that not be done via words?
So basically, Kimo's point
Hold on a
is
minute.
we
Hold on a
don't
minute.
know-
So you're saying the scientific method demands that some independent party views the manipulator doing the manipulating. Is that what you're saying?
No, the person making the claim has to.
The person making the claim.
Yeah, if they're saying this is my independent variable, this is the cause, they would have the manipulator would have to
do it.
So we don't.
But how can we refer to some previous experiment that's occurred then? We can only do it if it's on video.
No, it should be repeatable. So someone else should get that paper.
Okay. So have you tried to
Yes.
repeat this one that Kosho has posted?
No, because mass doesn't attract mass. It's not my claim.
No.
Oh, so we've
no,
got to
you're
repeat
saying it
it.
has to be repeatable, so someone else has to repeat it, or what?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
said you have a paper, so you should be able to repeat this and show.
Why?
This paper is them.
No problem.
Show
I
it then,
have
let's see the manipulator.
other
So
experiments.
the scientific
prove
method
the same thing.
demands that each thing is repeated. you're saying?
If it's not repeatable, observable, testable, then it's not.
Well,
No, no.
being
Yes,
repeatable,
it is repeatable.
It's not the same as it being repeated, is it?
Well, surely the best
they're two different things.
the best reason to repeat an experiment is if you doubt the findings of it. So if you doubt the findings of mass attracting mass, then doing this experiment would be a way to falsify chemo.
No one's
It's a
done this.
repetition, though. This
No. That's wrong.
This paper is a repetition. This paper is a repeating of the Cavendish experiment.
Yeah, but writing it down again, I have repeated.
No. Which part of the scientific method agrees with your position, Chemo? Show me. Because none, even a single sentence says you have to have it on video, so it's evidence.
Right.
None.
I didn't say
There isn't a part of the scientific method
direct
which
me
says so.
to all right. Direct me to a college.
You
past experiment, amazing.
You're all for the scientific method until you're presented with something that complies with the scientific method. Then you want the scientific method plus video. And if we gave you the video, you can bet your bottom dollar it would be, oh, but we need 24-hour uncut video from 3 different angles.
All we need to see.
Yeah, the goalposts are always shifting.
It is classic goalpost shifting.
I mean,
no, I want
which
Chemo to provide some citations,
Chemo
please.
has been changing to demonstrate that the Earth is flat.
Citation of what? What would be the point of a citation?
You're claiming that you have to make an observation on video.
But what
Other
would be the
people
point
have
of
to
that
see it somehow.
citation without the experiment?
No, show me a citation which agrees with your position. Because at the moment, I think it's just... No, Chemo, at the moment, I think it's personal, what you're saying.
I'm saying, even if I provide a citation, how does that help anyone? We still have no...
Provide me a citation which agrees with your position. Because it isn't the position of mainstream science. Or any science at the moment, is it?
Pseudoscience is incorrect. That's what we're telling you.
And you could equally argue... You could equally argue, and flat earthers often do, that there would be no point in producing a video because you just say, well, video can be faked.
Well, we need
So
Absolutely.
It doesn't help in any way, does it? It's just a way. It's just a temporary, a stopgap excuse, so you don't have to accept what's in front of you.
It would help a lot more than.
That's why we're going to stick to the scientific method, and we're not going to change anything from it.
An experiment versus no experiment is better.
Of course, there are multiple.
No experiment at all.
This is. I don't know why you guys. This is already a repeat, Chemo. This is already doing it again. This is not the first time a Cavendish.
No, but I don't know so you're saying paper attracts paper? Is that what you're saying?
No. It's repeatable. This experiment is repeatable. If you have enough time, you can do it.
That's why BioJeweled is repeating it live for everyone to see. Mass attracting mass. That'll be the first time seen by any
And then there'll be some problem that you'll bring up, which will then mean that all the work and effort that he put in has done it. See, the thing is, again, Chemo, is you're the one that doubts that mass attracts mass. And a way to prove that is by doing this experiment, because you can then say it didn't work.
He's going to prove it to himself. He's going to prove it to me. He's never seen mass
I don't think he needs to prove it to himself, mate. I think he accepts the finding of rational people.
Yeah, he accepts the poetry. Wants the facts, the knowledge, information.
Not poetry. The facts are in the data. The data we tend to write down, and we can then consume that data, and that data comes from the experiment. This is how the real world works, Chemo, not your Fantasyville.
No one has verified those papers. Who's verified them?
But can you see, Chemo? Can you see? Hold on a minute.
Sorry, hang on. Chemo.
Let me get in here. Can you see how this process you're following, anybody could do this, right? To any proposition. You could just keep saying, I don't believe you, it's not good enough.
No,
there is no end to this,
no,
is
you
there?
can't do that with the scientific method.
Well, we presented you the scientific method, and you've literally just done it. You've said, no, I need the scientific method plus video.
No, you've done this. You've said you've done the method. You said you manipulated your independent variables.
Yeah, it's recorded in that paper that Kosho posted.
Oh, come on.
The method, there's photographs of it. Oh, come on. That's what... Look, Are you saying you only believe scientific propositions to be true if there's a YouTube video of them?
No, not at all. Like I said.
Question: how did they do experiments?
So why does this one? So why doesn't this one qualify be on that basis?
Because we have no way of verifying the manipulating the variable.
But how would that not be true of every other scientific experiment that had ever been conducted that isn't on a YouTube video?
Well, what? You don't have any scientific experiments.
He can't accept it.
That's the point. We've been asking you guys for science, and we found that there is no science.
So you are now saying that science must include YouTube videos?
No, that's not what I'm saying.
Yes, you are.
Okay, so what sets this thing apart then?
It's not anywhere at a university, a museum, a college. Nothing. Nowhere.
Wrong.
You can't visit a place. You can't go anywhere and see the independent variable manipulation.
Right. So now you believe experiments to be true if they remain in place and are set up for you to visit. That's now the new requirement.
Yeah, if we don't have the observed phenomenon, what are we talking about?
Did you say yes to that?
No. I'm saying that if we don't have the observed phenomenon, what are we talking about?
What do you mean we don't have the observed phenomena? Where did that come from?
So that's what we're trying to find. We're trying to see that.
Look. No, observing the experiment happening is not the observed phenomena.
Yeah, we're going to see
right?
mass
That's a different
mass.
thing. You're confusing those two things.
No.
Is that a requirement? Because you didn't say. Is it now a requirement that the experiment remains set up and in place so that you can visit it and repeat it if you need to? Is that what you're saying?
No, not at all. No.
Okay, but that's the reason that you've just given for rejecting this experiment.
No. Like I said, the only way we can accept it is by the Bible of your script, of your papers. There's no other way of seeing or verifying that mass attracts mass other than reading.
But again,
about it.
how is that not true of every other scientific experiment that's ever been conducted that isn't on a YouTube video?
So science is about just reading the results, just reading about it.
Oh, it's you can repeat the results if you want to.
Or
right?
I can just write down what they've wrote down and say, okay, that's the.
No, you can.
You repeat the method that they detailed, and you do the experiment again yourself, right?
Yeah, that's what we're doing. BioJewel's doing it, and we're going to see no movement.
Why would you accept BioJewel's experiment rather than the one that Kosho's just Kosho's just posted with photos?
Why is it? Because I think what you said was it has to be repeatable, and I agree with you. It has to be repeatable, but this is repeatable. It doesn't mean you have to. When you say it's repeatable, it means it has to logically be possible to repeat it. It doesn't mean you have to repeat it.
Well, it's never been done. That's the point.
That's wrong again.
You don't know that that's true.
I do know. No one's ever manipulated the variable.
No, Kimo, one question. The experiment Kosha has shown you.
And we have the details of where it was. We have the details of where it was done. And so far, the two reasons you've given for rejecting that is, one, it wasn't on video, and two, the experiment isn't still set up for you to have a go at.
You like this, Jam?
It's not available for anyone to see or for anyone to verify. The only person that's trying to verify it now is BioJewel. That's all we have, right? We have a paper. We have someone trying to test if this paper is accurate. That's all we're going by now. We don't have any more information.
I'll help you out even more. I'll help you out even more. Here's the guy's email address so you could email him. Oh, if it's a bit too hard to email him, how would you like to telephone him? Because I've got his telephone number as well.
Don't post his phone number, for God's sake.
So now that we have the paper, all we need now is the experiment and the observation, and then we're good to go. But right now we just have a piece of paper that says
we have all of that.
Something. There's no evidence
with photos
whatsoever.
No. We got a paper with photos in it, Chemo, showing the experiment. So what fucking more do you want? You could email this guy and you could actually ask him questions about his experiment.
I don't need
if
to.
you
We've
wanted
got
to.
BioDuel. He's going to do it live.
Why would you believe BioDuel over this guy? What's the difference between those two, apart from the fact that you can harangue him on voice chat?
Because he wants to keep crowing about his great victory, which is what BioDuel actually represents.
Oh, I thought he was just being extremely obtuse and pedantic.
It's the ultimate in hoop jumping, isn't it? And
well, if it's repeatable, he should have no problem repeating. He did say last year. How long does it take to repeat a test?
I don't know. How many times have you done it?
Exactly. If I try to repeat, it's going to take me months and months. BioDuel said last year. He still hasn't done it.
No, I mean, you haven't done anything.
Exactly. How long does it take to do a science?
Exactly. You haven't done anything. Exactly.
It takes months and months to do an experiment on the globe side, right?
Yeah. Someone made the observation that the sun sets due to perspective. That's a claim we often hear. What have you done to actually scientifically prove that?
So we have a claim of mass attracting mass, and all we're doing is waiting for...
Wait. Good, just ignoring the question. Amazing.
We're just waiting for BioDuel to repeat what you guys say the paper does.
While we're waiting, why don't we concentrate on the sun question?
Well, we don't know what the sun is. What is the sun?
Well, I asked you a question.
I don't know what the sun is. I just said I answered you. I don't know what the sun is. What is the sun?
Claim that the sun sets due to perspective.
What is the sun?
What is your scientific experiment?
It doesn't matter what the sun
to
is.
demonstrate that.
Well, what is it? We don't know what it is first, do we? We don't know how it works.
It doesn't matter. It's an object.
So you
That's all
don't
you
know
need to know.
that the sun sets due to perspective. Then is that what you're now saying?
Do we have an experiment? What's the observation? What did you see?
I'm asking you a question. Are you going to answer it?
We don't know what the sun is.
So you don't know that the sun sets because of due to perspective because it goes into the distance. Thank you. Okay, I accept that.
We don't know what the sun is.
Because you don't know what the sun is, you don't know what it does, you don't know how it works, you don't know how it moves, you don't know if it sets below the horizon or not. I accept your answer, Chemo.
Okay. So this whole idea of gravity, SE, this can be demonstrated. A lot of the questions that we ask...
Easy to be a flat earther. Just say, I don't know to everything.
Can be put to bed. That's what we're saying. Nobody knows, Jose. That's the point. Nobody knows anything about anything.
It's so
about
easy to
women.
pop out to be one of
Because
them.
you say nah to every single thing
I
we
haven't
provide.
said nuh-uh. I
It
said,
doesn't-
okay, we have a paper. It followed the method. Where is the experiment? Where is the observation?
We have photos of it. It was done. Just because it isn't on YouTube, it doesn't mean it's wrong.
How do you know it was moving by a photo?
They told us it was.
Oh, because they said so.
Because they did an experiment and they got the
yes.
results.
So
Do
because
you
they
have a
said
reason
so
to-
and because you said so.
Do you have a reason to disbelieve them?
Well, it's like you just saying so. Why would we believe anyone on the internet like that without seeing it?
Okay, so that's fine. That's fine. But what you're saying is you reject scientific experiments that establish something to be true. And that's fine if you want to do that, but you have to admit that that is what you're doing.
Well, it depends on what you call science. What we're seeing here is not science. We're seeing just a paper written down and saying this is science.
Okay, so what additional things does it need to be to qualify? Does it need to qualify as science?
The experimenter would need to show they've manipulated a variable.
Which they've shown in their paper. So what additional things does it need?
If I'm his teacher, he has to show me in physics, what did you do to pass the class?
So when you say the word show, specifically what does that mean?
You're going to have to show practically that he manipulated.
You can't, look, you're telling me what the word show means.
Practically.
You can't use the word show in the
You're going to have to
explanation.
practically show me how manipulated the variable.
Right, so you mean the only way you would accept this is if it was on video.
I'm not going to take his word for it, am I? Why would I take his word for
So
it?
do you agree with the statement that the only way you would accept this is if it's on video?
No, that's not what I said.
Okay, so how else, what other method could he use to show you without it being on video?
Well, he can come to my class, demonstrate it.
Okay, so in order for it to be science, it has to be on video or it has to be performed in front of you. Is that correct?
Yeah, I'd have to see.
Is that correct?
Yeah, I would
Is that
have to
correct?
see the claim. Yes, of course. I
Right.
can't just take his word for it.
So things are not science unless they are on video or demonstrated in front of the person questioning whether they're science or not.
Yes.
No, that's
Sound
not,
about
that's
right.
not what I
Yes.
said.
That's Kimo. Yes,
Is that-
Kimo.
is that
Kimo, your answer
true?
is
That's
yes.
not what I said. That's
Absolutely.
not what I said.
Okay, so what else other than those things does it need to qualify as science?
So you need
Or
to
does it not need those things?
follow the scientific method and show
Right.
that you followed.
Okay, so what other methods do you
Show,
have?
yeah.
What other methods do you have of showing something if it's not on video and not demonstrated in front of the person questioning it?
Well, that's the only way to show something. You've got to use your eyes.
Okay, right. So we're agreed. So for it to be science,
Mhm.
it has to be follow the scientific method and all that stuff.
Yep.
And then, in addition, it has to be on video or it has to be performed in front of the person questioning it.
Yeah, they're going to have to show the person what they're claiming.
Right. So this is a new bit to the scientific method that you've added, then, isn't it?
No, that's not part of the scientific. That's not part of the method.
Do you have a citation anywhere which includes these extra conditions of being on video or being demonstrated in front of the actual
No, that's
person
not part of the scientific
questioning
method.
some scientific proposition?
I didn't say that was part of the scientific method.
Well, you said for it to be science, these things are required.
No. For it to be validated and verified.
No, that is not what you said. You said it wasn't science.
You said that, and I said no.
I specifically asked no. You said it wasn't science. I said, what extra things does it need to be science?
Oh, not science.
To be valid,
no, it
yeah. It's not valid, Kimo say, unless it's shown or in front of him or on video.
All right, so we're agreed then that it is science.
Well, unless it's validated, then it's not going to be science, is it? Right?
The only way to validate it is in front of you in person or on video, Kimo, right?
So now you weren't saying, so a minute ago or 10 seconds ago, you're saying something about it isn't validated. It is science, but it's not validated.
Yeah, how's he going to validate it?
Now you're saying it. Oh God, this is ridiculous.
Exactly, that's the point. How's he going to validate it? By
Not
writing
exactly.
it down? You're going to write it down? That's not validating it. You can write
So
anything down.
So you're saying it's not science unless it's validated.
Yes, unless it can
validated
be verified,
means on video and in front of the or in front of the person.
It means
any person who decides to
it
question.
means peer reviewed. Yes, so the peers need to review it, and if the peers
Well,
don't review
that's not what peer review means. That you're giving peer review a completely different meaning to the one that is generally in use.
No. We're going to review.
Kimo's really fighting peer review now.
Hang on, Kimo. One
peer
second.
review does not mean it has to be on a YouTube or done in front of any person who decides to question it.
Yeah, well, if the peers around him are going to review it, they need to see what is.
Hang on,
and
Kimo.
They do that through reading his paper, looking at the photographs, reading about the method that he used. They do that way.
Yeah, nobody independent has done that.
You're saying that way is not sufficient.
Yeah, no one independent has done it that way. And
Kimo,
BioJule
but
is
hang
the
on.
first person to do it independently.
Such utter bollocks.
Well, we're going to see,
Kimo,
aren't we? We're going to see for the very first time.
You're a science
I've
denier,
consistently
Kimo. Simple as
heard-
that. You're a science denier. You're making shit up that you say is required for science. Even more shit than you've already made up that is required for science. You've made up new shit because here you've got something that actually does comport with Quantum Eraser's ludicrous four-step scientific method. And now, even that isn't good enough. Now you've got an extra bit.
Well, not quite, because they wouldn't even accept this experiment because there's no observed phenomena in nature, which is why I've said I'll work with you guys, get this done, so we at least have the force or the observation of mass attracting mass.
Why would we do that, though? If we're going to do any science, we shouldn't be doing it to science, for or on behalf of science deniers. Why would we do that? You don't care about
I'm not
science.
denying it. I'm saying let's have a look.
You are.
Let's see.
You absolutely are. You're denying it outright.
How's he going to verify? Oh, we are trying to verify.
The bogus reasons that you cannot justify.
What? How am I denying it? I haven't denied it.
Anyway, I think I've taken this far enough.
Yeah.
Hey, look in the chat over there. So you believe that if you're on the North Pole and you take off, that it's going up like that, and you're on the South Pole, it's going the other way?
No,
Is that
I
what
don't
you
believe. No, don't believe that, David.
No, the rocket has to
Do you
go through
believe
the
that?
Earth to go up, David.
It's called relativity.
Center of mass, David.
Yeah,
Away
third
from
person
the
point of view,
center
somebody
mass is
outside,
up.
somebody outside Earth looking at it, they might see that if
Yeah,
they got
that's
enough
true.
zoom.
That's true.
What's nice is Chemo can deny science very simply. All he has to do is say it's not true. Not do anything. Shut up. Shut up, David. I'm almost done. So he can just simply deny science and not go out and verify it, and therefore he can make it all irrelevant or fake. So he won't
but
go
we've
out.
done science. We've already found out it's relative density. So we've manipulated our variable. We've shown you what we did. We show you the acceleration change. We show you that it moved in a different direction. We've done that already. Now you're saying it's not relative density. You're saying there's a force. So we're asking you to show that force in the place of relative density, like what we showed you.
We have
Do you want
shown
to talk to Kimo?
in the relative density world, we've shown you that in a vacuum, that relative density doesn't seem to apply. There's still a 9.8 meter per second falling rate in the absence of a medium.
You've gotten rid of all the drag. You've proven relative density. Of course, the thing's fall. There's no. The medium has no density now.
So there's still a force.
Every time you pull a vacuum, you're proving relative density.
All you're left with is the force. There's no more density to be related to.
But relative density says that gas should not flow into a vacuum because a vacuum is less dense than the gas. So relative density doesn't sound like a good explanation to me.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Gas doesn't apply. Gas doesn't apply to gravity, relative density, whatever you want to say. It goes up and down.
Why not? Hang on, but Jeremy, why not? Why is gas suddenly the one thing that's exempt from your relative density bollocks? That's a new one.
Well, you're looking for the downward bias, aren't you?
Gas is now exempt from relative density.
Does gas fall down, or does it go up and down and sideways?
Gas goes in all directions.
You can have a velocity up and
Chemo,
an
it's like
acceleration down. You know that?
Gas does go down.
Jeremy, you wanted to say go boom boom there, didn't you, Jeremy? You
I
really
thought you
wanted
were
to say.
going to say it. I thought so.
No, you can have a velocity up and an acceleration down.
If gas is denser than the air, Jeremy, where does it go?
It goes up, it goes woof woof.
That's right. When gas is denser than air, it goes down. And we've proved that using whatever hexaflingy it was, gas, the heavy gas that they use in that chamber.
Hexafluoride.
But these are very strong arguments, Jeremy. You cannot have these things without
They're
those
not. They're
things.
mongy arguments. They wouldn't ever be taken seriously by anybody.
But of course they're taken. That's why flat Earth is growing. Flat Earth grows because of these arguments. These simple arguments.
No, flat Earth
doesn't grow. It's declining.
If I say to someone in the public, how do you have... I said to my shopkeeper, how do you have no gas next to gas? Oh.
He would
need
kick you out of his store.
Need barrier. I said, because I was pointing at his spray can. I said, look at your spray cans. Gas inside it. If you pierce it, then it comes out. I said, well, look,
do you know how to read the mannerisms
said,
of someone who will just agree with someone who's sounding crazy? Do you know how to read those mannerisms?
Space, no gas, here gas.
Fucking normal shop came out quick.
So these are very strong and simple argument that gets the public thinking, how do you have gas next to no gas? Then they say gravity. And we just can't wait until they say gravity.
Pouring out that cup, that cup that they have in the image at 246.
Yeah, that's temperature there. You got the gases are very
temperature.
Cold.
That doesn't look like temperature.
Very cold. Those gases are. Yeah. No, that when it's cold. Or
where is your measurements and data showing the temperature of those gases, Kimo?
So that's how we understand it. And all we're looking for, Moya, is a
your
replacement
evidence?
for
Where's
the
your
relative
data?
density disequilibrium experiment, which would be Cavendish in a vacuum. You have this. It flows relative
Are
density.
you fucking stupid, Kimo? Did your brain reset again?
Damn, it's not an observation. It's a paper.
Kimo's like 10 seconds.
Kimo,
I just find it crazy that he asks us for all these proofs and stuff, and he wouldn't make a claim like that. Yet he's just made a wild claim. He's got no idea what gas is involved there. He doesn't know what it's doing. He doesn't know the temperature is at. Yet he wants to make that claim. When really he should say it could be cold, but I don't know. That's what an honest person.
Kimo, do you consider gas a vapor and vapor a gas?
Most flat earthers, Sammy, would just disregard this Cavendish. Okay, but again, I'm trying to work desperately with you guys to show once you see Cavendish in a vacuum, there will be no attraction.
You are definitely desperate.
Kimo, do you accept
I've heard
that
you
gas
say
is
this
vapor
several
and
times
vapor is
before
gas?
too.
Sorry?
Do you consider gas to be vapor and vapor to be gas?
Vapor gas. Gas, yes. Is that what they say? Vapor gas?
Do you consider gas to be vapor and or vapor to be gas?
I mean, you can get vapor like from, I think, like a lighter, maybe. Probably, yeah, so you can get vapor in gas. Why not?
Is gas and vapor synonymous?
I've just said yes. Well, it's not. Well, yeah, it is the same thing, isn't it? So it's the gas that's leaking from whatever's leaking, and that's just vapor. Right?
So with this demonstration, this cup with the boiling CO2, probably, if I was to allow that to sit in the cup and warm up to room temperature, and then pour my one cup into this cloud, I would assume that I would see the vapor that was pouring off displaced. I could probably do that test because that'd be fun. I like CO2. Would that be proof to you that it pours, or would that be meaningful to you even?
No, I mean, again, if you want to prove, you're trying to prove pressure, gas pressure.
I wasn't trying to prove pressure. I was trying to prove that gases fall.
Oh, gas has a bias.
I did that with CO2.
No, gas doesn't have a bias. No gas.
Room temperature?
Gas moves in all directions. So take, for example, if you take a helium balloon, take a helium balloon and put it inside a vacuum chamber, and pop the balloon, gas, the helium will spread everywhere unless there is air.
Because of the force of the popping of the balloon.
No, let's say you just pierced a hole in the balloon and it came out slowly.
Yeah, it's going to come out from the force from inside the balloon going outside the balloon. There's force.
Yeah, okay, so it's going to, once it stops, well, yeah, it's not going to be pulled downwards, that's right, yeah. Right.
No, I didn't say that. I'm saying that from the balloon, whether you want to put gas into a vacuum chamber to see what happens or pop a balloon with gas and other things, there's a force before the gas settles. Like, how long does it take for gas to settle? How about that?
It's actually amazingly fast.
To settle?
Yeah.
That's on the initial energy.
What do you mean settle? As in stop moving?
As in settle from the initial insertion of the gas into a vacuum chamber, or settle from the initial pop.
You're asking about how long does it take for the pressure to settle, is what you're saying. Like the pressure, the units have a uniform pressure.
You know what you're asking?
How long would it take for the gases, not for the pressure, but the gas itself? Does it ever settle?
Ask him what his name is. I bet he doesn't even know what his own name is.
What's he talking about?
I don't know.
When I was experimenting with pressure gradients inside of a container, when you inverted the container, the pressure gradient was established in fractions of a second.
Well, so let me ask you then, Gypsy. You think there will be a gradient of helium inside that container?
No, if you can't tell, I don't know much about this topic, so I'm asking.
Mike, you think there'll be a gradient inside the container full of helium? Like a layer?
All I'm trying to diffuse is
Mike, are you saying that inside the container there'll be a gradient of helium?
Gas in a chamber, it's going to go everywhere because you're putting it in. The force of it going in.
Have to answer
so
it
I'm trying to get to the after you put it in, let it settle for like a fucking day or two, whatever. See what happens, because I don't know.
That's how you know you're busted, because there'll be no gradient with the.
No, I'm just being honest and telling you I don't know.
So if there's no gradient with the helium, then how can there be a downward bias?
There's a gradient.
Are you so sure that there's no gradient? It would depend on how much healing there was.
What do you mean?
No,
There's
there
a
actually
gradient
is
inside of a
players, no matter what.
Any amount.
Can
of
you,
healing.
hold on a second, Kimo, can you provide us with the experiment, and I need you to repeat it in front of us, that you've done, showing that there is no pressure gradient in the atmosphere?
You guys are claiming that
pressure.
What?
Where does the pressure come from?
Well, he's claiming there's no gradient inside of helium. So I mean, that's
Pressure?
his
What
claim.
pressure is he
He
talking about? Where does this pressure come from that he's talking about? Does anyone know?
Well, I want to see how you've either affirmed it or denied it.
Well, what you said pressure. Where does the pressure come from?
Why is that big cloud not touching the ground?
Affirmed it or denied it, Kimo. Go on.
What pressure? You're saying there's pressure. You invoke pressure. What pressure? Where does it come from?
No, I'm saying, have you tested to see if there is or isn't? Can you
Is
actually
what?
now give us
Is
the
or isn't
experiment?
what? There is or isn't what?
A gradient.
A gradient? A gradient of what?
Gradient.
Yeah.
A gradient of what? A gradient of what?
You're being intentionally obtuse. You know exactly what we're talking about.
What? A gradient of
Trying to
what?
cover
What
away
do you
from
mean
it.
a gradient? What kind of gradient?
You having to say, no, I've done no ways to either affirm or deny this, but I'm going to make the fucking claim.
Deny
anyway.
what? What are you talking about? A gradient of
what?
what? Of what exactly?
Of what?
Gas.
How are you so sure there's no gradient with that helium?
A gradient of what?
Pressure.
Gas.
Pressure? Where does the pressure come from?
Yeah, and how have
Well,
you
how are
confirmed
you
there is
so
either no
certain
pressure or
that
there
there's
is
no
pressure,
pressure
Kimo?
gradient in that
Pressure? Where does pressure come from, Doofus?
Yeah, and again, Kimo, have you
You're over
confirmed
talking
that there is
Doofus.
pressure?
Can't you hear Doofus?
I'm not.
Dress?
I'm not.
Can't you hear
overtalking, he's not
Doofus?
talking. He's not talking,
He
Kimo.
was talking. He stopped because you won't
Did I
stop.
talk to you, Kimo, Doofus? If I did, I
Yeah,
apologize.
Doofus is asking about this gradient, this pressure. He said pressure.
Yeah, the pressure gradient. Have you confirmed there isn't one?
What pressure gradient? Where does the pressure come from?
Yeah, have you confirmed there isn't a pressure gradient?
What
What
pressure
test have you
gradient?
done?
What are you talking about? Are you checking if there's
Well,
fairies
you
or
don't know
not?
if there isn't one at the moment, so you don't know if there's
Have
a
you
pressure
checked
gradient or if
everywhere there's
not
no
one.
fairies and leprechauns?
So again, I've got a barometer that measures air pressure. That
And
it
I've got a
changes.
magic wand that
That's
detects
cool.
fairies and leprechauns.
Yeah, that's cool. Which
Yeah,
I
that's
understand
cool. That's
principles that it
cool.
works on.
Okay, stories. That's
Oh, look,
cool.
who is that weird guy that's dancing there at the moment, like a sea lion? That's
Have
weird.
you checked everywhere to make sure there's leprechauns and fairies are not
So
all
you
over the place?
haven't done that, fine. So you don't know if there's a pressure gradient or not. I accept.
So
your
you don't
answer.
know if
Thank
there's
you.
leprechauns or fairies or unicorns or not. Fine.
Kimo sees a jar of jelly beans.
Fine, we won't discuss
Kimo
leprechauns and
begins to
unicorns. Then.
count the
Fine.
jelly beans. After
Fine, you haven't checked
counting
everywhere.
all of the
Fine.
jelly beans in the jar, Kimo concludes there are no jelly beans in the jar because Kimo does not know where the jelly beans came from.
Fine.
Thank
Fine. We
you.
won't
This
discuss. We won't
concludes
discuss
today's
magical
lesson.
properties. Fine. You won't discuss it. Fine. We won't talk about it then. If you don't want to talk about magic,
Well,
fine.
no, I accept that you've got no evidence to say that there is no pressure gradient.
Fine. You've
Carry
got
on.
no evidence to say there is or there isn't leprechauns. So fine. You don't want to talk about it.
I have
Fine.
evidence that there is a pressure gradient.
We won't talk
So,
about it.
yeah.
Fine.
Yeah. I know,
Fine.
Kimo, you're upset because you've
Yeah,
been caught out.
we won't talk about it then. 'cause you
Did I
can't-
hear jelly beans?
You
Did I
can't.
hear
You
jelly
can't say
beans?
if there is or there isn't leprechauns. So fine. We won't talk about it.
Thanks.
If
You
you're
can't
claiming
answer
there
whether
is a
there is or
pressure
isn't
gradient-
leprechauns.
Jeremy has to say chemo. Yeah.
If you're
Sorry, I
claiming there
triggered
is a
him. Sorry, Jeremy.
if
Well,
you're
Jeremy,
claiming
he
there is
won't
a
prove if there's leprechauns or
No,
not.
let
So
Jeremy
fine, we won't
continue.
talk about it.
Fuck it, dude. Hear what Jeremy has to say.
You're claiming there is a pressure gradient.
What's up?
Kimo's saying what pressure gradient? How do you think the burden of proof is on him exactly to prove your pressure gradient? I don't even agree with this
What do you need
argument.
from me?
However, the burden of proof is on you, Dross.
No, not really. You can't. No reasonable adult can deny there's a pressure gradient. That's
Send people to the hot mic
I
room.
don't just have that. I also have shotgun
Well,
shells.
Jem, you say it so nonchalantly, but where does the pressure come from? If you say gravity, then we obviously go round again in circles, and we say where's the experiment for gravity, and we find that BioDuel hasn't done the experiment that he promised last year, and we're still waiting for that force.
Even if you don't agree with gravity, the weight of the air is causing the gradient.
Where does the weight come from?
You're mental.
That'd be gravity.
Observe a jellyfish. I don't need to know that jelly.
It doesn't matter where the weight comes from, chemo. That's where the pressure comes from.
So the
Like,
weight
I
comes
don't
from
even
gravity.
agree with this.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Go ahead,
We're gonna bring it back to that so you can.
No, I was just gonna say I don't even agree with this argument, but the burden of proof is on someone claiming existence of something.
Jeremy, that would be true if this was the original claim, and it was true when it was the original claim, and the person who thought.
Why don't you just agree with Jeremy and say that it comes from the container?
Didn't believe them.
Jeremy, you say the container that the pressure comes from, yeah?
The burden of proof.
Kimo, why
is
you
for
always
guys to
talking,
deny
Coach?
our evidence and show evidence why our evidence is wrong, because we've shown you the evidence.
Jeremy, you think the
Kimo
pressure
was over talking half of what you say, Coach, just so you know.
Jeremy, you think the pressure comes from the container, right? I suppose.
Sorry, can Kosho make his statement? I didn't hear what he said because you were over talking, Kimo.
So that's Jeremy's argument, the container. You can't have gas pressure without
Jeremy's
a container.
argument was what he just made. I'll respond to that instead. Okay? What he just said was the burden of proof was on us, but the burden of proof would be on us if this is the initial time we made the claim and there was no evidence to show it, and that was the case when Torricelli first showed it, and people didn't believe him, and that's why he made the barometer, is to show that indeed there is a pressure gradient. There is a pressure, and it does have a gradient. So it is showing.
There you go, Kimo.
Evidence, and showing you guys that evidence would have sufficed as the burden of proof. So
They got the barometer.
Burden of proof to show why you deny it.
They got the barometer, Kimo. There you go.
So what we're looking for, you can't have gas pressure without a container. So you've heard their argument. They can prove with a container that you have gas pressure. Now you're saying you can have pressure with gravity. The only way to prove that, obviously, is with the Cavendish experiment in a vacuum.
If we measure,
where we can see that this mass attracting mass is a real phenomena. And then obviously this discussion wouldn't be taking place. But right now, the only way you will have gas pressure is with a container.
Whether you believe in gravity or not, the gradient is caused by the weight of the gas.
The weight is caused by gravity, which we haven't tested for yet.
Well, let's focus on this first.
No matter what the cause of the weight is, the weight is the cause for the gradient.
The weight is the cause of itself.
No, he meant the.
What do you mean, doofus? The weight? Kosher, let him speak. He's going to make mistakes. Let him correct himself and learn how to grow and mature in this discussion. So you're saying the weight. Where does the weight come from?
The weight is the cause of the gradient, regardless of where you think the weight comes from.
Okay, but I'm saying, where does the weight come from? You can't just have pressure.
The weight
how do you have pressure without a force?
Of the gradient, regardless.
Okay, how do you have this gradient without a force?
You can't weigh gas pressure without a container.
Or without a force. How do you do it without a force? How do you get all this pressing, this weight pressing down?
It's immaterial.
Hold on a second,
what the cause
foolish.
is. It's immaterial what the
Hold on
cause
a second,
is.
foolish.
I want to really get in with this
Hold on a
point.
second,
It's immaterial
foolish.
what the cause
Almost
is.
there. We're just asking about this weight.
Okay, you just overtalked me completely.
Well, I was
again
responding
the
to
third
this
time.
weight. Okay.
Always, but you're just saying the same thing. All you want someone to say, it's caused by gravity, so you can pivot down the next.
Well, we want to find out if
which nobody wants to do.
Doofus.
And I'm just trying to make the point that it
Look,
doesn't matter
you
what
ran
the
off.
cause,
You ran him off now
is.
because you won't let him respond. You see what you've caused, Drus?
Kimo, we want you to stop going to such
This is just ridiculous. This is
Well,
ridiculous.
you just interrupted Doofus when he was talking
No,
about
you
weight.
interrupted me, Kimo.
No,
Again.
he was talking about weight, and I was responding to it, and he was
done
going to
it so many
respond.
times today.
And
You
you
gotta hug my
overspoke
Kimo.
him.
You gotta hug my Kimo.
You're not
You gotta hug my
allowing him
Kimo.
to respond.
Kimo, you hug my Kimo.
The point that I'm trying to make is the fact that regardless of what the actual cause of the weight is, we measure a pressure gradient. It's there. Thank you, Kimo.
Regardless, yeah, we're talking about the pressure gradient, and you asked him what the cause of it was. The cause is the weight. There's no need to say, "Oh, what's the cause of that? What's the cause of that?" We're not doing that. We're talking about the pressure, atmospheric pressure, does indeed exist, caused by the weight.
So Doofus ran away because he made a huge error by saying the weight is caused by the weight of itself.
How do you know that he ran away?
So
He didn't say that.
The weight.
Yeah, how do you know he ran away? And
He
didn't
never
have
said that.
The weight of its.
There's a telephone call for him, Kimo.
So we can't
Why
have
do you
this
say that he
pressure,
ran
can
away?
we? We can't have this pressure or this weight pressing down without
Why
a
are you
force.
running away from the point, Kimo?
And Kimo said the weight is the cause of the weight. He said regardless of what the cause of the weight is what gives the gradient.
Yeah, which is pressing down.
Pressure.
Pressure. pressure without a force.
Yep,
Yeah, the
that's
force
right.
is weight. Yeah.
So those gases are accelerating. Can't have acceleration without a
right.
force.
Don't forget
That's
chemo.
right.
Said earlier.
So if you can't have acceleration without a force, what is that force?
You say it's the
Well,
weight.
even
What is
Kimo,
that?
you're the only one that doesn't think there's any air pressure. Like even Rakia said earlier, you'd have to be a dumbass not to believe in the air pressure gradient.
Well, again, it
Well,
doesn't matter what's been said. It doesn't matter what the claim is. You've got to be able to demonstrate your claim in order for it to be a reality. You say whatever we like.
I did see balloons dipped in liquid nitrogen, and they totally deflated. And then once they were brought back to room temperature, they were completely reinflated. So,
Thanks,
What's your
Jeremy.
point, Jeremy?
And how much less space do you think a liquid takes up compared to a gas, Jeremy?
How do you know it liquefied? What kind of gas?
What's your point, Jeremy?
Yeah.
What kind of gas was it?
Don't know.
What makes you think it liquefied?
If it was helium, it wouldn't liquefy. I agree with you because that's about minus 200 and something.
Actually, some of it does liquefy. I'm not sure.
Yeah, they usually just use atmospheric air, right? Which is 80% nitrogen in liquid nitrogen, which will liquefy the nitrogen.
I just put an image in the chats, and can somebody explain that image, please?
No.
You see it right there. What does that say? What does it say in that image?
Yeah,
what is it showing you?
That's one iteration of Boyle's law. So one of the effects that we can do to increase pressure is increase the heat.
No, that's what. Okay, so if you increase pressure, you increase heat.
No, if you increase the heat, if you add work into the system, you can increase the pressure of the gas. You make it work harder.
All right, so go ahead and explain it. Where's your gas pressure coming from? Where's this heat coming from?
Because it's not just heat. Read the rest of Boyle's law. There are a number of things that affect pressure. One is the amount of gas in a volume.
We're asking you in the environment, right? What does it say? Cold air, what does it do? Please explain.
What's at the bottom of the
B-ball.
equation?
B-ball is hot micing. B-ball.
I don't care
You're
about
hot
we're
micing, Jose.
We're talking about the image, not
I know,
anything.
The equation is down there. It says density, which includes the mass, and it says molecular weight, which is its weight. Right. So there's no need to keep asking. The weight is what causes the pressure, man.
Yeah, and that weight, how can the weight just cause its own pressure? You need a force for this pressure.
If you add up a bunch of pillows, you stack pillows on top of each other, they're eventually going to create pressure at the bottom.
From what? What's the force from?
The pillows with the intermolecular bonds, as opposed to the gas that has no intermolecular bonds.
Oh God, you're such a fucking.
Without a force, you cannot have this pressure. So what is that pressure? What is that force giving that pressure?
I know that sounded like a really stupid thing I said, huh, Mackie, about intermolecular bonds.
Yes.
Really?
If you think that weight is a result of intermolecular bonds,
Nothing to do with it.
That's a really stupid thing to say.
It's the same way as
they don't stack on top of each other.
Pillows are not bonded to each other.
Hey, Jeremy, I think you just hit a nerve, Jeremy. Say it again. Tell him again.
You can't.
Flaunt your
you're not
retardation.
stacking- Yeah, they're not. The gases aren't stacking on top of each other like babies or pillows or whatever whatever thing with intermolecular bonds.
Kosho's saying,
Actually, they are. Actually, they are,
Kosho's
Jeremy.
comparing gases to pillows. What nonsense.
Well, why not? Why aren't they stacked on top of each other, Jeremy?
Because gases don't stack; they move freely and randomly. Because gases don't stack
No, they
like
don't,
pillows
Jeremy.
or babies.
No, you're just wrong.
Let Jeremy give his full answer because I'm so trying to see what he says.
He's just about to regurgitate that he thinks all gases are ideal gases.
Yeah, gases don't stick to one another. Don't they move in all directions?
All right, well,
exactly.
So that'd be like having a load of pillows, Kosho, that move in all directions.
Is there any chance you could just let Jeremy say it, Chemo? Why are you
that pretty
blocking
much-
your own guy?
That pretty much summed it up. You can't stack
really low.
pillows or babies or whatever ridiculous thing that does have intermolecular bonds, like gas, which doesn't, because gases, unlike the pillows or the babies or whatever you're going to compare it to, is moving randomly and freely in all directions.
Right, Jeremy. So whenever you put gas, so let's say you have a tank. You have a tank now, and you're filling it with gas. Okay, you're filling it with gas from some source. What's gonna give it the pressure? How is it gonna have pressure in that gas? Is it not gonna be the gases pushing against the walls, pushing against the other gases? or is it going to be some magical thing? Because I think it's caused by the gases pushing against each other, pushing against the wall and pushing against each other. Okay,
Yeah, that's how the gas causes.
The same way you can have gas pressure is the same way gases can be pressured by weight. It's the same thing.
No, without the walls of the container, there'll be no gas pressure.
Exactly.
We know this.
I don't know why you keep making this up, Kosher.
Oh, you don't know this.
That's the definition of gas pressure.
No, we all know this. NASA.
No,
knows
we all
it.
don't.
We use NASA's.
No,
we use NASA
no, we don't.
citations all the time. Even NASA knows you need container walls to have gas pressure.
Everybody knows this. Science knows.
You're saying a single gas out of the whole thing full of gas, helium gas, which doesn't combine with other helium. You're saying that it has the pressure in there is created because it's hitting against one wall.
Yeah.
Isn't the pressure going to be caused because it's in between two? There's two force on both sides. There's the wall, and then there's something pushing against it, against the wall.
No pressure.
Yes.
Well, what about
What are you talking about?
Hold on. What happens when a hand grenade goes off and it creates a pressure wave? There's no walls around that pressure wave.
Not the atmosphere.
Also, that dissipates
Yeah, but
immediately.
so you're telling me the atmosphere can contain the atmosphere?
No, you're blasting off against the atmosphere.
So the atmosphere contains the atmosphere.
No, the bomb. You're talking about your bomb.
So you're saying atmosphere can contain pressure. You don't need any walls because the atmosphere can act as a wall.
You've got a force in your bomb.
It's because the atmosphere is water gas. Thank you very much. And water gas fluctuates at different temperatures.
Keep thinking, guys. Keep thinking.
Yeah.
Bombs, all sorts. But unless you have that force, Jeremy's right. You need the wall for the pressure.
Oh, so if you have a force, you don't need any walls.
Yeah, where's the force? That's the point.
Emo's been asking, "Where's the force?" For
you have a force, you don't need the wall. That's right.
I think he just realized how badly he just fucked up there, Jake.
No, if you've got the force, you don't need the wall because the pressure will come from the force.
Yeah, we have a force.
What's the force?
No, you don't.
Hold on. What is the force?
Gravity, bitch.
Yeah.
Gravity, right. Do you have an experiment for this?
Yeah,
yes, Cavendish and more.
We got Cavendish in the vacuum.
Temperature is the
excellent. So,
temperature is the force.
See, we're right back to where we started. So this is your problem. You go around in a circle because you need the force. And you've got to
yeah, you're the one going around in circles.
Kimo, you are the only one who is running in a circle because you have this weird idea that it has to be demonstrated to you. So you're going to cycle everything back to gravity so you can say Cavendish, so you can say show me, so you can say I don't accept that. And then we start everything fucking over again. Stop it.
Yeah. Despite all the citations.
Very simple.
So then accept that what Jeremy says, that you can't have gas pressure without a container.
Okay, Kimo, do you believe in weight? Yes or no? Do you believe in weight? Is weight real to you?
No, it's only deceived.
No, Kimo can lift 300 pound weights.
Okay, well, then we're done.
Kimo can lift any weights, like 300 pounds, 500 pound weights.
If you're in
easy
equilibrium,
with your fingers.
you don't
You just
weigh
denied
anything.
weight, dude. I don't know why anyone's talking to you.
Yeah, if you're in equilibrium, you can't weigh.
Utter bollocks.
But if you're in space, floating around, how are you going to weigh it without a pressure, without the container, without a surface?
Still have mass.
How you going to? It doesn't matter how you're going to weigh. How you going to weigh the person?
At this point, helping out Kimo is just aiding and abetting his fucking paranoid, delusional nutter case.
Well, again, if it's not science, it's poetry.
You don't know science. You've got absolutely fuck all grasp on science.
Oh,
How can
boy.
You keep going on about science.
Well,
Kimo knows more about his science and his little pinky
Fuck
than you know
off,
your whole body.
Somebody who just said weight. They don't believe in weight, man.
He doesn't believe
weight
in
have
weight,
G in
and
it?
you think he knows more about it than I do.
Does the
I'll ask you
formula
the
for
same
weight
question,
have?
Jeremy. Do you believe in weight?
Does
Do you
the
believe that your
formula
wife
for
has a
weight?
Do you believe your car has a weight? Do you believe in weight?
Does the formula for weight have G in it?
And it's not what I'm asking. I'm asking if you believe in weight. The word that
Well,
you
we
know.
need to get it straight. Can you define
No,
it?
we don't have to get it straight, Jeremy, because that's you're
Let's
obfuscating.
define it before you ask me to agree to something. What is weight, Kojo?
Weight is the number that whenever you put something onto a scale, any object onto a scale, it gives you back a number. That value is going to be the weight.
Sure, that's the convention we go by. That's the
Yeah,
convention we use. Yeah.
weight is gravity, is what weight
I'm
is.
not talking about gravity, David. I'm asking Jeremy if
No,
he's losing weight. He said
I
yes,
know,
right,
but
Jeremy?
weight is
Yes,
gravity.
when you put things on a scale, certain things. I mean, some things, you put a helium balloon on the scale, it doesn't really, it just goes
Because
up and it
when you
has
put it,
zero
when you put
weight.
it on a scale, it's not going to sit on the scale. It's going to go up, isn't it? So it's not putting
Needs
something
a
on a scale.
Yeah, so it's not going to have any
Putting
weight.
things on a scale.
According to your definition, that helium balloon is not going to have any weight.
Yeah, because it's not going to be on the
Because
scale.
we set it on the
I'm talking about
scale and
things
there's
that you place onto a
doesn't
scale,
register
Jeremy.
any numbers.
Don't be silly.
But let's say
Yes,
the
things
scale
that we
is.
put on a
Give you a
scale.
value that values its weight. This is a fact.
How
Yes,
can Jeremy
yes,
not be
we get on a
silly?
scale, it shows a number, we say that's our weight. That's the convention we use, yes.
You believe in that number? Do you believe that's real?
Actually, you can put a helium.
Do I believe in numbers?
Like, do you believe
Sure,
that's a
that
real thing?
number-
That's what I'm saying. Is, I mean, there's no reason for you to deny this, man.
It's a
The thing is,
real
Chemo's denying
convention,
that.
yeah.
There's no
It's
need
a
to.
real convention, yes. Like time numbers on the clock, yes, it's a real convention. The thermometer numbers, they're all real conventions.
Why are you adding that word convention in there? What does that mean?
You don't know what convention means?
I don't know what it means in this context. I suspect you're adding it as a means of having a get out clause later down the line.
I am, yeah.
Yeah, well, thing is, why don't we just agree? Besides chemo, everybody in the room besides chemo, we believe in weight. So we don't need to go on to what creates weight when we're saying things that the pressure is caused by weight. The same thing that causes the number on your scale, that the weight when you place something on it, is the same thing that we're saying causes the pressure in the atmosphere. It's the weight of the air itself.
You agree with that, David and Jeremy and Essie?
No.
Still here?
No.
No, Kosher, they disagree with that.
Hey, who stacked the pillows? God? Did God stack the pillows?
Brian.
I stacked the pillows.
Brian's here. Does Brian agree that
I shot the sheriff.
weight? Or, I don't
I was
know.
thinking that, Jose.
What does Brian think? Kosher, they disagree. Oh, here's Brian. Go ahead,
What do
Brian.
you think causes the pressure in a?
Hold on, you asked Brian and all of us. Let's hear. Brian.
Yeah, we heard you guys are disagreeing arbitrarily. So, if you have
Not
an
arbitrarily.
empty pool, an Olympic-sized empty pool, what causes the pressure gradient in that empty pool?
In an
You already know the
empty
answer.
pool?
Not an empty pool. I'm sorry, a pool full of water. Full of
This
pure
is
water.
the part where you compare things with intermolecular bonds to things without intermolecular bonds.
Oh,
This is the part where I tell you
yes.
that the weight of the
Intermolecular
water,
bonding.
the weight of the water is what creates the pressure gradient in the ocean.
And that's
every
water
source
pressure.
knows this.
For dealing with pressure. Water pressure. Not gas.
So in peer review, we got a room of 50 people and 5 people disagree. Peer review.
Water can be vapor. You
what's going
said
on
yourself, vapor's gas, right? Water could be vapor.
Peer review, Jose. Peer review. Hold on, Jose. Peer review is just a popular consensus. What's that fallacy called? Where
something you know nothing about.
So if we got 50 people in a room and 5 people disagree with it, 45 people agree and 5 people disagree. Should we go with the 5 people that disagree with a true statement?
You want to do a popular belief and consensus?
Yeah.
What's the fallacy called that he's doing?
Consensus fallacy, Jose.
Hey, Jose, you got to remember, everybody in this room thinks that image that I just put in the chat is reality. So thank you.
Is it appeal to consensus?
What the hell?
What is it?
Peer review is not an appeal to consensus.
Oh,
No, it's not.
Appeal to consensus
No, it's
fallacy.
not.
That's the one, Jim.
It's absolutely not.
Appeal
That's
to
not what
consensus
peer
fallacy.
review is.
No, you aren't appealing to a consensus, are you?
Who?
You're appealing to other people.
Peer review, occurs, in a publication, and is generally done by, 1 or maybe 2 people, right? So
if those people agree, then
Jeremy,
it
what
passes.
did you do your dissertation on?
It's not an appeal to consensus in any way.
Right, Jeremy.
Removing turds.
If those
No,
people
in
agree,
fact,
then it passes
the
peer
hints in the
review.
name. Well, the hints in the name, Jeremy.
Let
It's
Jeremy
reviewed
finish,
by
man.
your
He's responding to Jeremy.
I said
Yeah,
that.
if-
Reviewed by the peers.
I know Jeremy's responding to Jam though, dude.
Well, you were in favour of it, Chemo. Now you're not, it seems. But go ahead, Jeremy. Sorry.
Peer review.
Yeah,
I'm in
earlier
favour.
on, you were saying that was what showing the experiment to somebody else was.
Now what's the
right?
problem now then?
You brought the term peer review into the conversation.
What's the issue now? What's wrong with it?
Well, now you're saying it's an appeal to consensus.
No, that's what he's doing.
Yeah,
peer
Jose's
reviews.
saying, oh, 45 people in the room agree.
Jose,
Like,
sorry,
I
yeah, Jose's saying
disagree.
more people agree, so we should go with the people who agree.
Yeah, I say agree with a fact, with something factual.
Let Jose. If Jose makes a comment like that, it's just a throwaway comment, man.
No, it's not. It's a very important.
He said you're.
comment.
Kosho just said you're worthless.
Chemo's run out of
Kosho
arguments.
just said you're
so-
worthless, and all you make is throwaway comments.
No, I'm not saying that he's worthless. I'm saying that it's not. It's not.
I know, like what he says is not even worth considering.
Talking about something else.
You consider what you say, Jose.
It's not. It's not been up for debate for like 2,000 years.
Well, I mean, again, you guys, when we say this time of 2,000 years, it's more of the 1%. It's always been the 1% who have pushed this idea. The general public population
fuck's sake.
have always gone with the Earth being flat. That's just simply the way it's been. And they've been pushing this agenda, the 1%, ever since. Even today, it's the 1% who want this to be real. You guys are not even that bothered. People say, well, I'm not even bothered if it's flat all round. They're not bothered.
Yeah, my wife doesn't even care, Chemo. My wife could care less. She says it doesn't matter.
Doesn't
It's
matter,
irrelevant.
yeah. Most people don't care. It's the 1% who really care. They want to push
Why
this
is it
out.
always your goal to move the conversation to something new? It's every. I see why it is. Every chance that you.
Well, we just want science. We're just looking for science. And if you get rid of
No, you're
science.
not.
No,
You're
you're
doing
not
everything
looking for
but.
science. You
I
don't.
attempted to bring it up, and the topic was peer review. What is it, and why is it valid? But you want to move on? Go ahead, I guess.
Well, I think Scott made a good point. He said that sanity itself, in a very real way, is an appeal to consensus. We kind of can't avoid it. I think it's a rhetorical mistake to try and avoid it. And I think he's right. I think we do judge how sane we are based on what other people think about things, right?
Yeah,
well,
if I say I see a flying saucer,
right?
You know, if other people aren't confirming that, most people will assume. That
Oh, really? So other people have to see what you see?
No,
I didn't say that.
Oh, all of a sudden. But
Wait
this
a
is
minute.
correct.
I didn't. This isn't. I'm not making this a rule for anything. I'm just saying it's a useful measure that we use.
Oh my god!
I'm not saying. Whoa. No. You can't sit there giggling. You made it
crucified me for saying
you made it a specific rule.
No, I didn't. I was
listen. Don't cut me off. You made it a specific rule that for something to be considered science, it had to either be on video or be performed in front of you. That's a very, very, very different thing to what I'm saying.
I didn't say that.
You
I
did
said it
say
has to be
exactly
No, I said it has to be validated or verified. Now, that
and when we examined what
You're not even
validated
letting me
and verified mean, we found out it meant it had to be on video or it had to be demonstrated in front of you.
Right, just what you've just said. So if you saw a flying saucer, you would say to someone...
Saucer is not a fucking scientific experiment, you monging
Let
fuck.
Chemo respond to Jem. Why are you jumping in?
No, I don't
Why
want to
are
argue
you,
with Jem anyway, but the
Jeremy,
point
you
is that you just said what we were just arguing against.
No, not true at all.
In my
in
opinion.
any way.
Well-
You were making this a condition for something to be science.
No, I didn't say that.
I'm
you
not,
said
I'm
that.
not saying that.
No, I
Cool.
said it has to be verified.
I'm not saying that this consensus that we're talking about, which isn't actually a part of this anyway, I'm not saying that that has to come from something being demonstrated in front of someone or from them seeing a YouTube video. That isn't a requirement.
So listen, hold on.
Peer review doesn't involve that,
No,
usually.
no.
Usually
Let me
they would look
respond
at the paper that you've rejected because for those reasons that I've just said, and they would make make their peer review based upon that paper, not upon a YouTube video or upon repeating the experiment themselves or upon having it demonstrated in front of them.
No, so if you saw
That's
an
not
alien,
real
if you saw a
science,
flying
man.
saucer, which is,
Don't try and
if you-
pretend I'm saying the same thing.
all
as you.
right, fine, but okay, fine, it doesn't matter. But if you saw a flying saucer, how? Oh, what was my point? Yeah, it's a phenomenon that's not natural. Same as this mass-attracted mass. It's a phenomenon in nature. So how are we going to verify that that UFO and mass-attracted mass both phenomenons. How are we going to explain this with the
Let's
paper?
just
So let me finish.
read
So
every
can I
time
write
we
down? I saw UFO. This going this speed, and then someone else goes, "Oh yeah, I saw one too." They write it down. Will that be accepted if we just say?
That's good. That's good. That's the start, isn't it? That's the beginning. That's the beginning of our body of evidence supporting the proposition.
No one would believe that.
We now have 2 eyewitness accounts supporting this proposition. That would be better, I would say, than 1 eyewitness account. What else do we have?
We have thousands of eyewitness accounts that say they saw aliens,
okay,
UFOs.
Thousands, right?
So do you believe in aliens and UFOs? Hold on. Do you believe in aliens and UFOs?
It's just not what's in the.
Hold on, Kosho to Jem. Do you believe in UFOs?
Well, hold on. I think because I feel like we've missed a step because you made the comparison here with gravity and what evidence we had supporting that. And I don't think that we can, either of us can honestly say the only evidence supporting gravity is thousands of eyewitness accounts, right?
Yeah. What else do we have? What else do we have? We have people saying, I've detected gravity, I've written it down, but no one has ever demonstrated it. Now, thousands of people say they've seen UFOs, but they'd have to. You don't believe that just because they say that or even videoed it. So, where do we draw the line?
2 words. That's why you have a hypothesis and an independent variable. There's 3 words, but yeah, that's.
Doesn't matter about any of that. Again, we've gone through the method.
Those are you making a distinction and pointing out what actually is making that difference. That it actually is the mass that's creating that effect.
No, again, we've gone through the method. We have the results. The results are written down on paper, but nobody has seen the UFO. Nobody has seen.
Wait a minute. Thousands of people seeing UFOs is not comparable, though. You can't because that's thousands of individual accounts of thousands of individual events. If you had thousands of accounts of one event, then that would be maybe comparable in some ways.
You do have thousands.
You do have hundreds of people.
Okay, where do we have thousands of accounts?
No, I didn't say thousands.
UFO
I said
event?
you may have a site where hundreds of people can see the same UFO at once.
Well, where?
Mexico City. Thousands of people have
Mexico,
seen the
in South America.
Yeah, right when the pandemic first started happening,
Thousands of
Mexico
people
blew up with UFO activity.
Thousands of people see UFOs in Mexico at once.
But they turned out to not be UFOs.
But that's the point. This turned out not to be mass attracting mass when you really investigate it.
Right. So the account was reliable, right? Thousands of people did actually see an unidentified or a series of unidentified flying objects.
Okay.
And it turns out they actually saw some flying objects. They were later identified, but those accounts were true. They support the proposition.
Yeah, that's fine. That's what people think. Yeah, they thought they saw something. Yeah.
Well, and they did, and they were correct. They did see something,
but not what they thought they saw.
Okay, hold on.
That's not true. That's not true. If you'd asked them to describe what they saw, they would have said what they saw. Right? They saw lights in the sky, moving, whatever. All of those things would be true. Now, if they drew some conclusions about what they saw, I'm sure they had differing conclusions. However, the accounts of what they saw would match, right? And they would be accurate according to reality.
That's what you're doing with this gravity thing. You're drawing conclusions. It's like the guy that sees the UFO. He's saying, "Oh, look, it's aliens from another planet."
That's exactly the point.
This gravity thing, saying, "Oh, look, space-time bending."
Right, but the gravity thing is not just based on thousands of eyewitness accounts, is it?
That's why
it's based on a series of experiments that allow us to rule out certain things and therefore draw conclusions.
Who's done that? No one's ever done this.
That's the point of the hypothesis in the independent variable.
We're still waiting for BioDual to do it. That's the point.
We're not waiting for BioDual to do it because it's already been done. He can do it also. That's great, but it's already been done, and we showed you where it was done 2 weeks ago. So we're not all waiting for BioDual to do it.
Well, like I say, UFOs are sighted every single day. Brand new ones.
That's not, again, that's
so you could say that they saw UFOs, written it down, now there's UFOs.
Those observations of UFOs aren't in any way describing what they are.
Well, just same as your observations aren't in any way what they saw.
You're isolating what the cause and what the effects are.
What's the cause?
I think Brian wants to say something. He's been lighting up for a little bit.
No, mate, I just had a
You're
cough.
lining up,
Sorry.
Kiwi, you know, it's just a fucking
Sorry.
picture, man.
I like to listen to the comedy show.
Well, it's always good to see you, bro.
Well, I mean,
I wanted to ask Jeremy actually about how Bob was wriggling around the other night when you were talking to him. What?
If I had known as much,
someone's got a hot mic. Archerix lives. Got a hot mic, mate. Archerix, yeah.
Oh, Art Rex is your hot.
I don't know
mic.
who muted him.
He did that. He did that thing.
Bob's lucky. Hold on, let me respond, Jim. Bob's lucky that me and Rocky weren't there, and I didn't know as much as I know now about the gravimeter, because I would have raked him over the coals on that nonsense.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
But you did do this thing at one point where he asked, you bugged him with this question. I can't remember specifically what it was, and then he said, "Right, are you going to explain it then?" And you went, "Yeah," and I think you stumbled, I think, on the first couple of words, and he kept throwing it back at you, and he said, "Oh, so the movement is caused by the movement then?" And everyone sort of jumped in and said, "He didn't say that, Bob." And he said, "That's exactly what he said." And it was absolutely not what you said in any way. He completely made it up. I mean, it was
Why would he do that to you?
It was just such an obvious tactic that he was using to just talk over you with something you absolutely did not say. And
Had to do with acceleration, I think. I forget what it was.
yeah, it was to do with that. Yeah, it was to do with this gravimeter thing. But I just think that was a sort of a very dishonest tactic to use, and you should recognise that.
I think they're just looking for the. I mean, I don't know why they're pushing the downward bias, but I really wish them luck. Because I don't want to cause aggravation like Jeremy's doing. Because obviously they just want answers. We all want answers.
But, I just think the best explanation for you guys for this is just to say there is an up and down in nature.
No, there is no direction. That's incorrect.
That's all you need to say. You don't need to say
that's
anything
incorrect
more
because
than
the
that.
gases
It's all
move.
explained.
Gem, it's not correct. The gases move in all. There is no direction.
Okay.
What's your thoughts on that tether
If you think
UFO
that-
incident?
if you think that's easier, I don't. I just think it's just so much easier to just say up and down in nature.
The thing is, Chemo, I would have left Bob alone over this gravity thing, but I'm seriously upset with Bob right now because of the gyro thing.
Uh-oh.
You understand? He has evidence. He's claiming to have evidence that would end all Coriolis debate with these guys.
Jeremy's up.
And he's not giving it to us. Him and his team of flat earthers aren't giving us the evidence that would end all the Coriolis debates for some
Bob's
reason.
about to cash in anyway.
So
He
I got a
gives two shits
serious
about
issue.
you.
I think what Bob
Right.
does.
You should have. You should have. Why haven't other flat earthers got that
No,
issue?
because
rather
I
than
think what Bob does is he gives people things to think about. So we don't know if it's 100%. Just something to think about. We know it's not a ball, so now we
Well,
have
he's
things
claiming
to
it
think about.
is 100%. So if you're saying you don't know if it is, are you saying you don't trust his assessment?
Well, like I said, we're just exploring options. I mean, I think once you're a fully fledged flat earther,
How is that an answer to my question in any way?
Bob's not making enough.
Do you accept his assessment that this is a globe killer and it absolutely debunks the idea that the Earth is rotating?
Well, I mean, I think in terms of like how you guys view the world, I think possibly yeah, because if that's what you're looking for to show if there's rotation or not, then that will answer your questions. The same as me with biodual. You know, it's not that I actually believe in this experiment, but he
You are
does. He
sickeningly
does. So if
dishonest,
we can
It's
show
just
that.
I hear you.
If we can
It's not
show,
honest,
if I can
baby.
show him at least that there is no attraction, well, that will satisfy him. So, like I said, I just think flat earthers are just exploring different options.
I've known psychopathic
But you're not.
killers.
Why did you say you couldn't hear Chemo? I
That's
could hear him
annoying.
perfectly.
There's people talking over him, but you have those people muted.
No
You
one
know,
was talking. Who was it,
people-
Stone?
Oh, sorry. Does somebody else
Okay.
want to get in? Go ahead.
My bad, Jem. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, flat earthers used to make the excuse and still make the excuse, that they haven't had the resources to establish these truth propositions. And yet, and the whole purpose of FE Core was to generate those resources. was to focus, or if you like, focus those resources and to actually be doing proper, properly done experiment. And yet the result of it has been that they've done 2 experiments which they claim are damning, and yet they haven't released the results of them. And I think this is very, very telling.
A lot of politics involved.
Yeah, I'm not trying to give Bob a hard time or anything, Chemo. The thing is, if these group of flat earthers claim to be on our side, why aren't they giving us the ammo for the war? You know what I mean? It'd be like the government sending an army out with no bullets.
When tens of thousands of dollars have been spent to establish these things to be true.
So what mental gymnastics are you using to get around that, Jeremy?
No, I don't know Bob's email.
Were you on Glowbusters when they were live the other night?
No.
Have you tried to contact Bob in any way to figure out what the answers were from Bob?
I've talked to him on Brandon's show a couple times, and he said, we'll release the data soon.
And also that they've already released the data, don't forget. He had 2 stories on the data.
We heard your side of it, Jim. I was talking to Jeremy. I've talked to Bob a little bit about it too.
I can link you to the clip if you like.
Yeah, we've heard.
It's only 10 minutes long. You can have a listen and see.
Yeah, I've seen
I'll fix to get back on the road.
Well, why are you denying it then? If you heard it,
I'm not denying it. I already said I listened to it.
Well, you sort of implied that it was my interpretation of it.
If you don't mind.
And can I say one? Can I say one thing before I get on the road?
I can't hear you, Rocky.
I kind of feel like you do in some sorts, but
Rocky,
it's their information, right? I'm sure they have their reasons. You have
Rocky,
to trust
I didn't hear anything you said, Rocky.
David, shut up! Ricky's talking. Go ahead, Ricky.
Yeah, I put much stake in Bob as a whole, or anyone else, any one man as a whole. In that instance, I would like to see more information. But it is the effort of their whatever private organization or whatever, and they're going to make this information known to the public as they see fit. And as they see fit means that they don't see. Maybe they want to do more testing or get it more organized before they just release it. Willy nilly or whatever. So
they might want to see
squeezing the last T.
I don't think they're hiding anything because they wouldn't have showed the 15 degree if they were trying to hide it.
Well, then, but Ricky, if that's true, then they shouldn't be walking around saying this absolutely debunks the globe like Bob is. He should be saying
what they want, right?
He should be saying we've done some tests and so far the data is looking promising for our point of view, or something like that.
That's what I hear he's saying. Yeah.
No, he isn't. He's saying this is a globe killer.
He said it over and over again. Be patient; it's coming.
He said it. He said this is a globe killer. It absolutely debunks the globe. Blah blah.
Y'all seem to put more stake in Bob than I do, and I'm a flat earther.
No, I'm just saying what he said.
Right, and I've heard him probably just as much or more than you say. Be patient. There's great new information coming out. We've used it in several different ways. I'm not fully in control of the information. And as soon as they're ready to release the information, you'll be the first ones to know.
After
if he was trying to deceive people, if he was trying to deceive, why would he have said they came up with a 15 per hour drift of something?
So that he can deceive.
Oh,
Rocky, I don't know about you, but
he didn't have any choice on the 15 degree, did he? Because he'd staked all his money on that one while in front of that documentary team, and the results were there for everyone to see, and he had to produce them. So he had no choice on the 15 degree per hour, or at least he did, but he'd already made that choice at when they started.
He tried to fuck it up too. He even says, man,
Rocky, we've been in a lot of Coriolis debates. I've heard you in here. I've been in a lot myself. We all have. And there's a group of flat earthers out there that claim to have evidence that would absolutely end the Coriolis debate, or at least make people rethink everything they know about Coriolis and how it's being claimed to be measured. Now that makes me very upset that they're not giving us this information. I know it's their information and they gained it, but they did gain it by the help of the community, the people that they say they want to be,
I'm upset about the Mars information, Jeremy.
I didn't help Bob whatsoever. So
They're not giving
I don't
us
think he owes
enough
me anything.
Mars.
And I haven't heard Bob. I haven't heard Bob saying that he needs to add to this, and they just need to do this extra experiment or whatever, and then it'll all be okay.
Well, then that proves that you haven't heard at all. They're doing several more tests.
I've heard him saying it's conclusive.
Jim, he did say the other night that they wanted to do more magnet. They wanted to do tests where they drop magnets or some shit like that.
Right.
Because I think he said that he thinks it's the ether. He said his reason for it is for somehow this magnet test is going to substantiate that. But that doesn't give any reason why the results from this test don't get released. There's nothing holding people back. There's no time needed to release results. You just release the results and then say, well, we have further tests coming up to try and this or this.
I just wanted to say that they have a history of promising certain tests, and those tests just disappear from their website after time.
Yeah. There was the microwave one as well, where they've had a result which wasn't favorable. And then I think they suggested some improvements. And I can't remember whether I think they did the test with the first lot of improvements, and it was still not favorable to them. So I think they suggested some more. But I may be going one step further there. They it at least wasn't favorable the first time, you know.
Like I wasn't mad at Bob when I wasn't mad at Bob when he went and got the 15 degrees. He did make a little wild claim before he did that if this then that, but whatever. He went out, got the 15 degrees. All right, fine. I'm not mad at Bob. But
Hey, at least
now
it's
we're at the
private
point
funded
where-
science.
point where he claims to have evidence that totally debunks that it's measuring Earth rotation, and we don't have it.
Oh, the other thing is, Jeremy,
I
mean, you shouldn't be.
Hold on.
No, go ahead.
I understand that it's not only him, and there's a group of other people, but all these other people claim to be flat earthers, so they should all want to be on our side and give us this information. It's not like they found some devastating proof that debunks flat Earth. Like,
Jeremy,
this helps us.
Jeremy, how are you not figuring this out, man?
Did you go to the website today and do the $25 thing?
No, Twit told me last night that you don't get the.
Oh,
result.
they don't have that.
If it was about $25, we'd all have the results right now. Somebody would have went and got it and just released it. You know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure they're not just going to give that.
I don't know why Bob doesn't do the vacuum Cavendish. That would just end all of this. Show that mass attracts mass and that downward bias. It's not that hard to do, right? I mean,
those two different things, Chemo. Two different things.
No,
but downward bias is everyone's going to agree on it.
No, because Bob wants the downward bias. All of you guys want the downward bias. So that requires mass attracting mass.
No, it doesn't.
Isn't it?
No.
Well,
I can show you a downward bias in a video game, Chemo. You don't need no fucking space time. And
no, mass attracting mass.
You should get on board with it, buddy.
What causes the downward
You're
bias?
behind.
Or gravity causes the downward bias. Yeah.
Well, Chemo, I think if it's so easy to do, then why don't you do it?
Because it's not my claim.
Well, you just said you would like to see it. So if you like to see it, why don't you do it?
I would love to do anything. I know it can't be done. I already know the results.
Well, now you just said it can't be done. So you're saying that you can't do it.
No, it can be done, but you won't get the attraction in a vacuum.
So, do you have any proof for that?
Gosh, how many papers?
He's telling you it doesn't exist. Here we go again. Burden of proof. Chemo's saying this thing doesn't exist. Now the burden of proof's on him to prove
No. He made a claim that it doesn't work.
Yeah, Jeremy, what kind of truth seekers
whether if he doesn't do the test, if he doesn't do the test, then he can't make that claim.
Exactly. How is he a truth seeker if he says it can't work, if it's impossible, if he's never done it and he has no plans to do it?
My prediction is will show no attraction. Independent variable has been removed.
All right, then go test it.
Perfect. Back it up.
Then you would test it if you were actually a genuine truth seeker. You would test that
testing it.
your
We have
hypothesis.
BioDuel. He's testing it as we
No, your claim, your test.
No, BioDuel.
Yeah, your claim is that
Why
it
are you
will
guys
not work.
reversing the burden of proof here? I don't understand.
No, he's literally making a claim.
Acting like you know these terms.
No, your claim is that mass attracts mass in a vacuum. What does that have to
It's
do with
already
Chemo proving it?
That wasn't my claim. That wasn't my claim, Jeremy. That wasn't my claim. Chemo just claimed that it wouldn't work in a vacuum. Hold on. Chemo made that claim. He said it would not work. That is his hypothesis. That is his hypothesis.
No,
so it's his burden of proof. He just put it out there. Just
No,
said it.
Jeremy, you do not get it.
They don't get it.
Again,
They don't
after day after day, you do not get it, Jeremy.
Go on, let
They don't
Jeremy make his
understand,
point.
Chemo.
Yeah, I know. He just made a claim, Jeremy, and
They
you
don't
won't hold his
Chemo's
feet to
saying
the
this thing.
fire because he's on your side. Why won't you
Chemo's
hold
saying
the
this
same
thing.
standard
Guys.
with Chemo as you do the rest of us?
Guys, you gotta let people.
I was over talking.
You know,
I was over
let
talking.
James- Jeremy, go on, mate.
Yeah, Chemo saying that whatever's happening here doesn't exist. You guys are making the claim that yes, it does exist. What in your not?
This is not an establishing premise.
Guys, let him
Fuck
finish.
here.
I get it, but let him finish. Yeah.
What in your nutcase mind makes you think that the burden of proof is on Chemo to prove your claim of existence when he's claiming non-existence?
You must not have heard what he said then.
He's not claiming non-existence. What you talking
Chemo, does mass attracting mass in a vacuum exist?
That doesn't exist, no.
Exist.
Does
Don't
not
let
exist.
exist.
Okay,
Mass
there we
does
go.
not
We've
attract
all heard
mass. That's the
Chemo's-
idea, is to
Yeah.
find
So,
out.
so Jeremy, now he has to prove it that it doesn't happen.
Understand how
Yeah,
proving
he
non-existence.
literally made
So
a
where's our
valid
claim? I didn't make any claim, so he has to prove his claim right now.
No, the claim
You guys are
is that. Go on, Jeremy, sorry.
No, I don't know. They're like retarded or something. I don't know what else to say.
But I know
called
you
names
spend
now,
a lot
guys.
of time. I know you spend a lot of time in 24/7, and it's now become difficult for you to see the argument in a reasonable fashion. But Chemo is making a claim. He's making the claim
Of non-existence.
He's making not of non-existence.
He said that it won't work.
He's claiming that
Not just
particular-
non-existence.
Yeah, a mechanic of reality is not or does not work as we currently think it does. And
All
so
right.
he can establish that through experiment. It may not be Cavendish in a vacuum, but he could establish that to be true through experiment, right?
Let's ask again.
No,
Chemo.
it's not down
Mass
to me. Tell him,
attraction-
Jeremy. It's not down to me.
All right, Jeremy, orbits. There's our proof. Now Chemo needs to prove his point.
I don't know.
That Earth is not real.
You have a
Prove me wrong.
position. You have a
Jeremy-
position on the nature of reality, and if you want people to believe that to be true, or even if you want to believe it to be true, you should have a justification for it to be true, and you don't seem to have.
Of course
one.
I do.
You just seem to rely. You just seem to be just seem to rely on the inability of other people to produce reasons for what they believe to be true, according to your absurd standards.
No.
Okay,
You're
first of
saying,
all, I
hold on,
don't-
last
I
point,
don't-
Jeremy, and I'm going to mute. You're saying there is a force, and you've got to prove that there is this force of mass attracting mass. That's not me. Not down to me.
That's been done. That's been done. But you're saying that what has been done does not establish that to be true. So you need to now show how that is true. How what we currently have to establish that truth proposition doesn't.
And it's been done. We have the papers that say it has been done, but we have no observation to support those papers. That I don't need to do it again because it's already been done. So they say, but we haven't seen it being
Have you
done.
not watched Blue Marble
It's
Science
just a
videos?
story. It's just a story.
Didn't Chemo claim it never been done before? Now he's claiming it has been done. Which is it, Chemo?
So they
Has
put-
been
why
done.
do you think they haven't shown you
his
the
absurd standard that he's
no?
put in place?
Why do you think they haven't shown you the results? Because it doesn't move in. If it moved, do you think they would hide the video or hide the observation? Of course not.
I don't think there is a requirement for there to be a video.
But they wouldn't
and I think
hide it, though. They would
Pretending that there should be is absurd, and drawing conclusions from the lack of one is even more.
So why
absurd.
did Blue bother uploading his? Why didn't he just write a paper?
He did.
No,
Reality
why did he
is
bother?
in no way dependent upon the existence of videos about it.
But why did he bother? Why didn't he just write a paper and post the paper?
Because he's talking with retards.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. If we're all
Demand video
retards,
evidence,
fine,
and
we're
then
retards.
still
if we're
hand wave it like
retards,
toddlers.
then do as we ever asked, the vacuum, and then show us that
No.
we're retards. You can't show us that we're retards because in a vacuum it doesn't move. There is no movement.
How about you go back yourself, Chemo?
I showed you a paper.
Anyway,
you
Jeremy,
would
it's all right.
still hand wave it like a toddler. You would still deny that it exists, and you would still
It's
come
never
in here
been
and ask the
shown.
same
You've got to
question
show it to
every
deny
fucking
it.
day about the same
I'm
thing.
not denying it. I'm saying
You've been
show
shown it. You've been shown it. You've been shown the papers. You've been shown
Shown the
everything
papers,
you need
yes,
that
you've
a
shown
reasonable
paper
person
on paper
would
on
need to
paper, lots
see
of paper.
to make a conclusion.
Jesus Christ, Kimo, shut the fuck up.
You know, why are you over talking me, dude? If I was a
Just
fucking mod, I'd mute the fuck out of you for doing that.
negate everything he says. What you just said, no, that's not true, Kimo.
It's why you're not a mod, probably. It would be my guess.
Because
But
I would
is the
who are over
is the
talking.
claim
Okay.
is the claim that in a vacuum gravity disappears? Is that Chemo's claim?
That is Chemo's claim, basically.
Yeah, who the fuck knows?
No, hold on, Rocky.
His claim is that the atmosphere is what causes the mass attracting mass.
Not true.
Let me tell you. Let me tell you what the claim is, Rocky. Hold on. Let me tell Rocky what the claim is. That inside a vacuum, mass attracts mass. Guess who's making that claim? The Globers. Guess who's saying that doesn't exist? Chemo's saying that doesn't exist. What's up?
That's
false. Chemo said that it didn't work.
Yeah, well, he can
He's saying it doesn't exist.
Yes,
No,
okay, he can prove that it doesn't
It
exist.
didn't work.
Do we have evidence that it does work? Since that was the
No,
original.
we don't. We don't need them.
It doesn't
So
take
the
more than-
original claim is that mass attracts mass inside of a vacuum, of course, because gravity wouldn't disappear anywhere. But there's no evidence for that.
Just the paper for it.
Evidence.
Back here, there is no evidence, no observation of mass attracting mass in a vacuum.
As Doofus has pointed out, well, observation to you means a video of it. That's not true. You're lying.
Well, but here's the problem with this
The
entire.
people, hold on, hold on, Let me make this point again. Let me make this point again. You are confusing the observation made in the experiment with you being able to watch a video. They're not the same thing. You are lying when you do that.
I'm being called a liar, Rakia, because I'm
because you are. I pointed this. That's a ridiculous twist that you've made, saying that I can't watch it on video, therefore there was no observed phenomenon.
I didn't say
You're
that, did I?
ridiculous.
No, we've been through this, Jem.
Yes,
said,
you did.
Right, I'm not going to argue because, again, you said with the UFO, you would ask your friend or someone, do they see what you see?
Talking about UFOs, Chemo.
That's
We're
a
talking
phenomenon.
about something that has actually been done. The observation of mass attracting mass in a vacuum has been done.
But did they show their friend? Did they ask their friend? Did they ask their friend? Did you see what I see? No.
This is fucking bullshit, Chemo. You're a liar. You're a dishonest piece of shit.
Anyway, so that's the point, Rakia.
Stop lying all the time.
As I pointed out, and Doofus pointed out, you made the positive claim that the Cavendish experiment doesn't account for variables that you have yet to establish can cause this movement. So you've made a positive claim. You need to establish it to be true.
Well, do gas molecules cause things to move, Jim?
Hold on, before you ask another question, man, I'm trying to address Chemo's argument, because for some reason this is even required, and when you think about it, it doesn't make any sense whatsoever, because you guys claim when we say the gravity is a thing, and what we say it's caused by, you guys say it's relative density caused by the atmosphere and things like that. And so the thing is, not only do we show things falling down in a vacuum, but we know Cavendish exists outside of a vacuum. And so if Chemo then goes to say that the reason why Cavendish works outside of the vacuum is because of the relative density, the atmosphere is what's causing the masses to attract or appear to attract outside of the vacuum, then that doesn't that already refutes the claim that what we see them falling in a vacuum. So it can't be the same cause. The cause for the masses attracting in outside of the vacuum with Cavendish can't be the same thing that causes things to fall in a vacuum without the atmosphere, because it's the same. It's already been shown in the vacuum chamber. So it doesn't make any sense, Chemo. It can't
I've
be
never
one and not
seen
the
it.
other.
It's not relevant to the shape much, really, to be honest.
Oh, yeah, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
And then coming in every day and repeating the same thing that it never been shown, can't be done, no proof, no evidence. These guys don't have anything. When he's been shown,
You got nothing.
He's been shown over and over. You do the
Yeah,
same, Jeremy, like a dishonest cunt.
Yeah, but if he says that it's hasn't been shown in a vacuum, then you're also in that same by arguing that, Chemo, you're arguing that when we see things fall, in a vacuum, it's not the same thing as what the Cavendish are showing. They're showing two totally different things, which logically doesn't make sense for you to be saying that it's the atmosphere doing that with the Cavendish. It doesn't make sense.
And again,
You
it's
should
not
want
relevant.
to do this experiment, Chemo, because you're supposed to be a truth seeker.
I think a strong question is if you want to talk about gas being special, what happens when something transitions from a liquid to a gas? What qualifies that? Not again that it's relevant to the shape.
No, they don't have intermolecular bonds.
It all
Right, but
ties in, Don. It all ties in.
Not really, but
Oh, it doesn't.
What this? I think you could almost have mass attracting mass on a flat Earth.
I mean, if there's a conspiracy, dude, and they have the shape wrong, like the physics doesn't matter, dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Have this shape wrong.
We're on one
That's
subject.
how ridiculous.
Everyone wants to change the subject like every 5 seconds.
no. I'm sorry. Like, dude, y'all talking about how gravity balls every day.
It's the only thing.
The mechanism by which things fall to the ground is important because the center of mass is where things must fall to if mass attracts mass.
Which could happen on
But
a
it's
flat Earth.
about mass and distance and all this stuff. But Cavendish is kind of interesting stuff. Space-time bending.
I mean,
No,
what
Cavendish
if?
is not. Go ahead, John.
What if the flat Earth was on top of a huge column? Bear in mind, nothing else exists other than this column.
The depth would be less important than the width. It'd have to be infinite in all directions.
And so its center of mass is a long way down the huge column. And so it's kind of like the sun sticks out rays in all directions, and yet at our distance they're more or less parallel. This would produce a sort of a parallel effect on the surface of the Earth.
Yeah, the Gemnos
center of mass were so far away that the angles from
right.
outside of the Earth would be about the same.
Right,
As me.
right. It is still pulling things into the side. It's just, like you say, the distance from the center of mass is so great.
Very nice.
Gemnos you could have mass attracting mass on a flat Earth. There you go.
And that's causing your little spherical excess over here, you know what I'm saying? But again,
yeah, I wonder how far it would have to be for my ridiculously stupid idea to be real.
Millions of miles.
Yeah.
I mean, there's just no way to make physics work on a flat Earth without changing.
All right.
Yeah, we know.
I did hear someone say once that if the plane was infinite, you could have gravity, but I have no idea how that would work.
Branch. He posted the paper for it, and he is correct. Doofus just said so just now as well, but yeah, it's correct. If it was an infinite plane downwards and outwards, then there would be no way to make a distinction of like a center of mass or anything like that. So
even if the plane was infinite, you're still going to need a container to keep that gas in. Well, I guess not if it's infinite. Never mind.
No, not in that case.
Scratch that. Yeah, scratch that.
Oh my god.
I mean, I'm not sure if anybody understood my what I was trying to say about Chemo's argument.
No, I understood it.
His argument doesn't agree with you guys. Yeah.
I don't think he was necessarily making that argument though.
But that's why he requires the Cavendish in the vacuum, is because he thinks the atmosphere is doing something based on the relative density idea of gravity.
No. I think he's implying that the balls are only moving because the atmosphere is moving them.
Who gives a fuck?
You've got electrically charged molecules in the air, right?
Oh yeah, his boyfriend.
I don't think. I don't.
It's
think
wrong
he's
on the
saying
internet, Stone. We
how-
need to fix it.
There's
Oh,
100
yeah.
volts per meter
how
as
the
you go
effect
up.
of gravity is caused by the atmosphere. I don't think he's saying that.
If that's true, then the one that B-Baller showed, because B-Baller showed a Cavendish that had all the pressure readings like in 5 different places, temperature in 5 different places, like electricity and the whole thing. If you showed that, then you would know the gases aren't moving if it's steady.
The
I remember I
gases
said-
aren't moving. Do you know what that sounds like when you say that, Kosho?
No, I'm saying the gases
all the
aren't
gases-
moving back and forth enough to not to push things.
So they are moving.
Stationary gas.
No, it's not. It's not. It doesn't have. There's not. If you show that the pressure and the temperatures are equal in the whole thing, and it's been steady, just been there for like a day or two, then there's no way for there's no reason for the gases to move. There's not a.
What if you covered? What if you put the Cavendish in a clear ceramic box and you covered the entire floor with down feathers?
Well, the sensitive element is already enclosed anyway, but
Sounds like a good place to sleep.
Any air movement, you'd be able to see it in the feathers.
right. It wouldn't make any difference though, since the sensitive part is inside a sealed container.
Right.
But that's the one that B-Baller showed was basically like that. It was in a plexiglass.
Yeah, but flat earthers can't. They're not gonna trust those instruments.
Not gonna trust.
So Kosho, gravity should gravity still exists in a vacuum, right? In your knowledge and your theory.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
And
no, I was just making sure.
The real question in all of this is how many lions would it take to spontaneously start fusion?
How many times do you have to prove you're just a troll? Oh, Lewis.
Wherever you
Lewis,
saw that,
Trillions of lions.
I did want to ask Lewis a question.
It's interesting because when I was doing the math, I just saw like the mass of the sun. It was like 1.9, whatever, and that just so happens to be the same average mass of a lion. It's like 1.9. So I think that whatever you
probably
saw,
got it from
use that
Lion King.
Yeah. I think it
I'm
must have
just
set up
saying.
10,000
I'm just
trillion.
saying. If you took, that many lions and then just took one lion away so that it didn't fuse in start fusion, you could take that and just snuff out the sun.
Oh, you lying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
So
a
Lewis,
nice fairy tale.
Lewis, do you think that that light bends through the atmosphere?
Well, the question is, how many lions would it take to bend light?
I wouldn't even
So
bother.
you just want to troll. You don't want to answer the question.
Well, it is more interesting than interacting with
Yeah, I thought it was an interesting question when you asked it originally.
Listening to you misunderstand something for the umpteenth time.
Right.
He's
Latch
I'll
on
ask
to one
Kosho.
word and claim
I'll ask
victory.
Kosho. since
You can always ask
troll.
me, Rakia.
Who is it? Me.
Who do you
I'm
think?
sorry. Who? I'm really, bro. I can't keep up with the voices as good as others.
He's driving. Come on.
Yes, light
Yeah.
does bend through the atmosphere. We can quantify that though.
No, that's fine. Hang on. So if the light, this won't take long. So if the light is bending, it would make objects appear to bend, right? If you looked at them at a certain distance through a certain atmospheric condition at a certain angle. You agree with that?
They would appear to be displaced. It doesn't necessarily mean that they will look distorted.
Yeah, but it's certain images, if you look down them a certain way, would appear to the viewer a certain way, right? However, the light is coming back to the viewer due to those conditions and parameters. That is the way you would view that object. Would you agree with that? This isn't flat
Yeah.
Earth or sphere. Okay, so what would you call that phenomenon? Would that be an optical illusion?
Nope.
What would that be to you?
The light is bending. It is not an illusion.
Are you saying things as they appear?
No, I'm saying, what do we call that?
Observed phenomenon.
If you have a power line that is appearing to bend, and you know that power line is not bending, Is that an optical illusion, or what do you call that?
Mirage.
I love how you just inserted that.
No. You have to check around to make sure there isn't a large number of lions causing it to look bent.
Someone said mirage. Someone said mirage. Do you agree with that? Is that a mirage?
Mirage usually implies, well, actually always implies that there's some inversion somewhere.
Yeah,
Right.
or a
Some
large number of
optical
lions.
illusion caused by the atmospheric
He's gonna
conditions
take
is a
this
mirage.
and run with it. This little.
The refraction itself is not an optical illusion.
No, I didn't say it was, but the view of that that power line in this case, that is appearing to bend, and we know it's not. It's just caused by the way the light is getting back to the viewer due to the atmospheric conditions. That is the mirage, correct?
I would have him define optical illusion, Rocky, because I don't think
let him answer.
Yeah.
No.
Well, yeah. Now the hold on one second.
Yeah, go look up optical illusion means.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
The effect of the light bending itself is not an optical illusion.
Okay, what is that?
Check out that mirage, that mirroring.
Just so I get it right in the future. What would you call that? That
Fucking
effect?
huge mirror.
You won't get it right in the future.
Refraction.
Diffraction?
Refraction.
Okay,
Matter of
refraction. Okay, refracted light causing what?
You'll not remember a fucking thing.
What does refraction cause when it makes things appear distorted or bend in a certain way? What is that called?
Exactly what you said. It appears to be distorted.
Is that a mirage?
Depends on what the effect is, man.
This is
A mirage implies that there is an inversion somewhere in the image of the object that you're looking at.
Inversion, distortion, an optical illusion, maybe?
No.
You're worse than teaching a child.
Okay, so fair enough. Fair enough. I've gone far enough with this. Let's say you're viewing this power line on a certain angle, and when you change that angle, and that power line does no longer appear that way, it straightens up. You can't see any distortion in it. But
I know where you're going with this.
You're under the same atmospheric conditions. The only thing is you change the angle.
You want to step out to the side of it so it looks straighter.
Just change the angle. You're already
Yeah, step out to the side of it is what you're saying.
Yeah, you're already to the side of it. You just step out to the side a little more. You just change that angle. And it straightens up. What do you call that? Is that a mirage?
No.
Is that refraction?
No.
So at what point does it become refraction? When it starts appearing not to be in its normal state? When the light is being bent because of your angle and the atmospheric conditions? That's when it's a mirage?
So I know you've worked with your hands before in your life. I'm going to ask you questions very specific. I'm going to ask you questions very specific about like a piece of lumber. If you have a piece of lumber and you look down it, end on, you can see it's more bent more easily if you instead of looking at it from the side, right?
If it's actually curved, yeah. If it's actually arc, if it has an arc in it, you can obviously see it easily if you look down it rather than the side. You can see it both ways, but easier if you look down it. And you can also measure it very easily, right? That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about phenomena of light making a straight board, right, because of the conditions and angle that you're in, appear to distort.
You're assuming that it's not curving, though.
Yeah, but I'm not assuming that it is curving. Because when I step off to the side, it's definitely not curving. Just change my angle a little bit. Or even change the atmosphere.
Yeah, by that logic, the pole cue is straight. Stop it.
Well, okay, so fair enough. So how at what point do we consider that we need to measure it and not just view it? Crescendo of my argument. Like, everyone is looking down this board or looking down this power line in the atmosphere, which we both agree can distort, refract, diffract, reflect, mirage, blah, blah, blah. We both agree on that. At what point do we need to measure that power line?
Well,
that would be the way we would know, right? It's okay. You don't have to answer. Thank you.
He said he could quantify it, Rocky. I'd like to know what numbers he needs.
So if you're
you know,
quiet
what
for like 2
measurements he-
seconds,
I
is
was
that when
I
you
was
get to
right in the
claim
middle
No,
of
I'm
victory?
not claiming victory. I've already made my point, and Jeremy's trying to talk, and you
Is
interrupted.
that how this works? Or
I'm
if you
not
say,
claiming
hey, I
victory.
need one, if I need 1 second,
Did you need
then
to cut
Jeremy chimes
Jeremy
in and
off
says,
to say
oh,
that?
yeah, go and look
Aren't
it up,
you the
man. Go and look it
troll?
up.
Aren't you the troll that didn't want to talk to me? Now you're wanting to cut Jeremy off to say that bullcrap?
For what, Jeremy? What? You were silent. You were silent for 2
You're
seconds,
just
so
a
I got to claim
troll.
victory, man.
I didn't claim victory.
Oh,
I
I'll
already
claim
said that.
victory.
I
Every
said I
time you're
didn't
silent, I'm
claim
just gonna claim
victory.
victory, man.
Why Rakia? Why don't you say that other game's name?
But yeah, it is. We should let Jeremy continue though, man. There's don't need to come off.
Yeah, whoever that guy was that said they could quantify it, I'd like to know what measurements he would need and what's his error bar. What's his margin of error in this quantification? Does he know, or did he just make that shit up when he said he could quantify it?
God damn, Jeremy's got balls.
Jeremy, what's an error bar?
I think it was a general statement because that's what people say.
Jeremy,
about
what's an error
refraction.
bar?
You can quantify it. To be fair, you can quantify refracted light to an extent, but not to the extent of being able to tell if it's a mirage or not.
Everything I don't like is a mirage.
And Jeremy, I'm going to say Jace has been trying to speak to you in the chat. He just trying to give you evidence that there's indeed intermolecular bonds in several instances, several exampes which has happened. So not sure what you're saying about that. I was going to say
intermolecular bond,
but he has he's got some examples. I'll post what he posted
of intermolecular bonds and gases. Yeah.
I mean, of course there is, man. Yeah.
Which gas?
I'm gonna post.
Which gas is that? Just tell me. I can't even look at my phone right now, bro. I'm at work. Which gases have intermolecular bonds?
Well, he posted one that was. Hold on. He posted.
Is it the one? Is it any gas that's in our atmosphere that you're claiming the weight of the gas is keeping the other weight of the gas down, or?
So now it's some gases, not others. Good one.
Here, I'll just speak for a second. Jeremy, so gases have intermolecular bonds. It's trivial to demonstrate any non-ideal gas. We see deviations from something called Raoult's law and a Henry law coefficient that show these deviations because there are intermolecular attractions between the molecules. I do this with undergrads in our vapor pressure lab, so it's like easy to demonstrate.
Jeremy's not trying to learn anything.
Okay, how many citations do you want saying that gases don't have intermolecular bonds?
We've got one right
10?
here in the chat.
Will 10 work for you from college, university accredited places, or?
I mean, they're discussing ideal gases. They're not discussing real world examples. It's that fucking simple.
Yeah, I'm not
Here's
talking
the
about
QE
ideal
dump,
gases.
boys.
I'm talking about real gases like oxygen, nitrogen, carbon dioxide, things like that.
At least one of your examples, Jeremy, and then that way we'll see if they're talking about ideal gases or not.
Ideal gases are like a very specific set of conditions, and they're not present very often in reality.
Jace,
So, like,
would you
have
say
a
that an ideal
solution.
gas is not the same as like atmospheric, or like ideal gas law wouldn't apply to the atmosphere?
To simplify the atmosphere, to make the math easier, you can assume that it's an ideal gas. But if you want to get accurate predictions and measurements, you have to deviate away from that ideal gas assumption.
Okay, this is from sunny.moonparkcollege.edu. Gas particles have broken away from the intermolecular forces that hold liquids and solids together.
Wow, Jeremy's so far out of his depths.
I mean, how many do you want?
Don't interrupt him.
Jeremy, you should look up what Raoult's law is in the Henry
quoting
law.
QE.
So you
doesn't
can
know what
misunderstand
he's doing.
something else.
Give me a link and I'll check it out.
Is
It's just
Rocky
a
still
QE
around?
link. He hasn't thought about it.
Give him something to watch. A lot of these guys have YouTube PhDs.
Real quick, while we're looking stuff up, I'd like to clear up something from earlier, make sure that we're all in agreement on the same page. Basically, it's this. Can we all agree that things appear as they do when conditions at the time of the observation are present? Are we in agreement on that?
Yep.
Any dissent?
Rakia?
Rakia doesn't understand what I said.
Go ahead and finish it off, Curved, if there's an ending.
No, that was it. That was the end of the question. I just want to make sure we all agree on that.
Rocky, you still here?
Yeah, sorry, man. I was in a store.
Yeah, it's all right. I do want to point out that light bends down in a density gradient when the highest density is below. And we do find that in our atmosphere at 50 feet and above ground, 50 feet above ground level and above. So we know that distant objects under those conditions will appear to be loomed up higher.
Are you the guy that said you could quantify it?
Yes, kind of. Well,
Can I ask
in
what
this case
measurements-
is
can I
being
ask
a
what measurements you
qualification,
need
basically
and
that light has to bend downward in order in such a gradient.
And in order to quantify it, can I ask what measurements you're going to need and what's your margin of error?
What's the margin of error? You need all sorts of
what
different lapse
measurements
rates,
do
and the
you
margins of error. You need all sorts of different lapse rates, and the margins of error for those lapse rates will be the margin of error for your resulting calculation.
Listen to how confident he's talking to somebody.
You need
who's just
lapse rate measurement. Sorry, what measurements do you need?
lapse. I mean,
Yeah, between in the optical corridor, as you like to say, the temperature from the bottom to the top, different pressures, so on and so forth.
Sure. So how many of those do you need? And what's the margin of error on that amount that you'll need?
The margin of error is basically the margin of error for your measurements.
Sure. Tell me which measurements you need and what the margin of error is going to be.
he
for those
doesn't
measurements.
understand any of this, dude.
He doesn't know what lapse rate is.
The margin
you
of
answer the
error is
question?
going to be
Can you answer my
dependent
question or
on the
no?
tools you use to take the measurement.
Depends on the margins
you
of error
can't
for your
answer-
measurements that you're making.
Give me the measurements you need to quantify refraction and what the margin of error will be for those measurements.
The margin of error. The margin of error for that final calculation depends on all the margins of errors of all the measurements that you took.
Tell me the measurements you need, and then give me the margin of error for that.
I hope y'all are happy y'all made this idiot.
Let's go through a little hypothetical measurement, and we'll see if you can actually quantify or if you were just making shit up.
Yeah, one moment. Let me get you a hypothetical real quick.
Yeah,
Just
you
tell
can
me
lead.
how many-
You can lead us through the maths on it, Jeremy.
All right, I got you. Oh, I have to get my math guy for that.
So here's a good hypothetical right here.
All right.
It's linked in the chat.
Well, just how many measurements are there? 3,
He's just
4,
gonna
you
get
got-
more
you do
confused.
more than, I hope you did more than the main
Won't
surveyor
admit
did
when he's
you measured
wrong.
plumb lines, not the
Ridiculous.
parallel.
Wait.
Who is speaking with Jeremy? Because you sound reasonable. I'd like to talk to you further. What's your name?
You just said hypothetical, so I gave you hypotheticals. Right there, it's
Yeah.
the entire
How
thing
many-
is hypothetical.
What's your
Sure.
name?
How many
sir?
measurements are there?
In the hypothetical, it's a simulator, man.
Jeremy, who are you speaking with?
I have no idea what this guy's name is.
Doofus.
No way, that's stupid.
Sometimes
I mean, I am.
Listen to the denial. They can't even believe the person that
Definitely
they're
not
talking
this guy.
to. It's so funny, man.
Is it funnier than a million lions flying into the sun, or?
It's just as funny to be like, who's talking? Oh, it's me, doofus. No, go on mute.
Well, I'm just basing it on what Doofus posts in the chat usually. It doesn't fit the calmness and the like being sensible about things.
What do you, Rekia, you should really not talk about who people are. You were convinced he was fucking the main surveyor for what? Several days?
He probably still is.
He sounds
At
just
the
like
moment,
Doofus.
I think he thinks that MBD and Dupus are the same person.
Nice.
Maybe y'all said it was Doofus and it really wasn't him. Who's the guy that's talking to Jeremy about the light that seems really reasonable?
There's been a few.
Fucking doofus.
Okay, well then my story still stands. It doesn't match what he usually posts in chat versus what he's saying now.
What does that even
Sounds
mean?
very reasonable.
Is he supposed to talk a certain way just because he types a certain way, or what's going
Do
on?
y'all need to talk for him? So Doofus, so you saying objects tend to loom up more due to the light, the way it bends in the atmosphere typically. Is that what you said? Did I hear you right? Looming
Yep,
seems
typically,
to be
especially above the higher refractive bands that are close to the surface.
okay. So, but when we're at lower levels, because most people view things like from 6 to 10 foot, well, is looming still predominant?
Depends on the weather that day. If you're at a particular location that has a body of water that's usually colder than the air above it pretty much all the time, then you're going to get way more looming than usual.
Okay, so when we don't have that, when we have the opposite of that, what is that called?
Sinking.
So would you say sinking can occur due to the conditions?
Very close to the Earth's surface under very special conditions.
Fair enough. And what would we see if we saw sinking? Would the foreground appear to be higher than the background, or what would we see?
The foreground and the background would be changed by a certain angular measure. It depends on the lapse rates.
Okay, so would the foreground sometimes, could the foreground be loomed up and the background be sinking?
That would require a horizontal gradient. It'd be very difficult to achieve in Earth's atmosphere at all.
What if we're looking 200 miles and we're 6 foot?
Would still require a horizontal gradient, which we would normally not see in our atmosphere under any reasonable amount of time. Like maybe jet wash, but that's ridiculous.
Yeah, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. I'm really just picking your brain because you sound sensible. So, what condition would you call, or do you think that there is a condition where the atmosphere appears to loom an object up and obstruct distant objects? Now, I'm not saying the distant object has to be sinking. I'm saying, you get my question? Can the water...
Asking for proximate looming.
Okay, call it approximate looming. Would the water appear higher, closer to you than the distant object and cause obstruction?
It would require conditions in our atmosphere that we wouldn't be able to expect to remain stable for more than a few seconds.
And what would those effects, what would that be?
A horizontal gradient.
Explain that. Never heard that before.
Well, normally the gradient we are used to seeing is a vertical gradient. It changes based on altitude. The effect you're looking for is at least have some horizontal component to it instead of vertical.
What would cause that? Just the temperatures and pressure differences, or?
To the degree that you would need, like a jet engine right in front of your face, basically.
So you're saying that's not going to happen. So what happens? Like, can there be mirages or anything that happens that obstructs objects in the distance?
Mirages can mirror the bottom part of an object, well, the top part of an object onto the bottom part of an object to make it appear like obstruction.
Okay. Can the water appear to mirror onto the sky, meaning it looks higher than it actually is?
It can raise it up, but it over those distances it wouldn't loom, or it wouldn't mirror.
What do you mean by it can raise it up? What effect is that? What optical effect would that be?
Well, that's looming. In general, from you to the horizon, you won't see any miraging.
Okay. So if the water in the foreground is being loomed up, is it possible that the objects in the distance are not being loomed up?
It would require a gradient with a horizontal component to it.
So you, I don't.
The answer is no,
you
not
keep
really.
going to that,
Not
but
really. Rakia, not really. It's not really possible.
I guess what I'm saying is over water, you can have water temperatures that are greatly different than the air, which would cause lumen. And then the objects on the land are totally different temperature than the water, so there wouldn't be looming. So if the objects on the land are much further away than the water, then the water could be loomed up and be obstructing objects in the distance.
The air over the water. Hold on. The air over the water is looming up everything that you can see beyond the water anyway. What you're suggesting is that the land would have to be sinking. It would have to do that in order to counteract the effects of the looming that the water is doing to or the air above the water is doing.
Okay, that makes sense because you're looking through that same layer of air into the distance, right?
Yeah.
So would there be any other optical effects such as perspective or whatever that would make those distance objects appear lower but not be loomed or not be sinking? I mean, because I've visibly seen, I don't know what horizontal, let me kind of rephrase that. I've seen personally where, I mean, all kind of funky effects, but where things in the foreground are definitely being affected by refraction and objects in the background are being affected in a different way. It's refraction, but not the same effect. Does that make sense? Like you might get stretching of a building in the background and the foreground being loomed up.
I think you're inserting an assumption in there.
Okay.
Regardless, like I mentioned before, the light has to be bending downward in our atmosphere above a certain amount. Usually I say about 50 feet or more, but it's pretty safe to say 20 feet or more above the ground level. The light's always bending down, so distant objects will always be loomed up. In the case of a perfectly level or flat or no curvature Earth, however you want to say it, the Earth would have to look concave, but we don't see that at those altitudes under those conditions.
You see concave looking Earth at lower altitudes?
It's possible at very low altitudes.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you.
It's cool the simulator he showed from Metabunk, from what's his name, Mick West. It'll allow you to play around with it, and you can see what will require all sorts of types of refraction.
Yeah, I've done reality simulators where I'm actually there and I'm 6 foot above the water and I go 50 foot or 100 foot, and it appears concave most of the time to me when I'm at low altitude, 6 foot, and when I get higher it seems flat.
Well, reality simulator is not going to allow you to do what
Let's
an
talk
actual
about.
simulator allows you to
Let's
do,
talk about
which is
real
play
life.
with the dials.
Sure.
Yeah, maybe so. It made a lot of sense, man. Thanks for being calm, and I mean that means a lot. It made a lot of sense when you said the foreground and the background. You're looking through the same layer of air, but obviously things in the distance are being affected differently than things that are closer to you. I'm not sure what that horizontal what'd you call it? Horizontal what? I'm gonna look into that.
Yeah, you'd have to induce a gradient that also has a horizontal component.
Horizontal gradient is what it's called, though.
Yeah, basically.
Is there is there something I can read? Is that what I would look it up under? Because I honestly never heard that.
Well, usually
No,
that's
you just have a gradient that's at a different orientation.
That would be what causes wind.
Anyway,
So it'd be
we're
really
talking about-
windy.
we're talking
That's
about
what it
height.
would be. If you want a horizontal gradient, you're gonna get wind. It's gonna be really fucking windy.
Okay,
Yeah,
so you're
and-
saying the wind
and-
is blowing that
The gradient would be causing the wind.
the gradient of
Gradient.
gas.
You would need an absurd amount of wind, though.
Yeah, and it'd be like an explosion, essentially. It'd ripple outward, and it'd
Right, that's why you
settle
said
back
jet
to where it
wash.
should.
Yeah, that's why you said jet wash.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get you. So extreme heat and cold differences wouldn't cause any type of turbulent air to cause such effect?
Well, maybe turbulent, but it would be visibly turbulent as well.
I got you. You wouldn't have a clear image.
Yeah, it'd be a complete mess.
All right. So when I'm looking at an angle to an object and it appears to bend towards me, what is that effect?
I'd have to see a picture to figure out what you're trying to describe.
Send you one because I've asked several people and it seems like you have more knowledge than most. Let me post a picture real quick.
They don't call him doofus for nothing.
Yeah, I like this guy, man.
I went out to my reality simulator and I took a picture. I posted it there in the chat, and it looks pretty concave. You're right.
Yeah, change your angle a little bit.
Yeah. What I'm not telling you is that there's a trillion of lions just out of frame.
Doofus, I posted at 3:30 a bridge that's straight. That's the same bridge that Lewis posted. It's straight. And when I got at that angle, it appeared to bend towards me or curve towards me. Is that just a mirage?
That one is a mirage, yes. You're looking at the top of the bridge being mirrored down to cover the bottom of the bridge.
And
yeah, bending towards me, that's exactly the phrasing I would have chosen too.
It's appearing to curve towards me
loop-de-loop?
just because of the mirage effect of the angle and where it's being mirrored towards me, right? Like the angle of the viewer in the mirror is. Go ahead.
I would guess on that particular day, the water was maybe only slightly warmer than the air above it. Like it would be like, I don't know, like 65-degree water and 55-degree day.
So the water is warmer. Okay.
So that bridge is bending towards Rakia. Rakia, were you way off to the right there when you took that picture?
No, I'm at about the same angle as like Lewis is showing.
Kind of like right there behind the camera?
Where were the lions?
Not,
Oh, that's
not with it bending towards you?
What you're trying to say? The
You-
bridge is straight.
You really didn't see that was mirrored?
No, I think it's mirror. I was asking him what he calls that effect. I call it a mirage, a mirroring effect. I know that the sky is being mirrored down on the water. The water is in a different spot, right? That bridge is not underwater. I mean, come on, man.
I'm more interested in
know.
why this matters.
I'm just asking someone who has knowledge about optics and light.
Lewis next time. He took some pretty good pictures compared to yours.
I'm beyond skeptical.
Yeah.
You don't think I have good
True,
pictures,
true.
Kesha?
I don't think you were at the same angle I was. I think you were much wider.
Oh, really? Well, let me
Yeah.
show you from the other side.
The reason I
Yeah.
think you were much wider is because the location of that tower is in a different spot in my photo.
Yeah, you're on the west side of the
That's where
bridge
the
in your
marine
photo.
spans are too.
You're on the west side on your photo. I'm on the east side.
You said you were in the same
No, I'm
place.
not. I am not on the east side.
You're on the west side, I said, and I was on the east side.
No,
Now
I am
I'm-
on the east side as well.
No, not in your picture. You're not.
Yes, I am. Look,
You're on the east.
maybe you're
side.
thinking.
Oh, you're on the north. You must be on the. You're on the north shore. I'm on
No,
the
no,
south
no, no,
shore.
no, no. I'm on the south shore east side. I think we're talking about different photos.
You're not on the east side of that bridge if you're on the south shore, sir.
Are you looking at the same picture?
We're talking about different photos, Rukia.
At 3:30, you posted a photo of the bridge. You're on the west
Yeah, there's another
side. You're
photo.
on the southwest side of the bridge, sir.
At 3:28, I posted another one.
Oh, 3:28. Oh, I wouldn't look. You're C4?
Ouch.
Oh yeah, 320 at 328. You're on the east side. I'm talking about the one you posted at 330.
Apologize, bitch.
We're all
no, even the one at 330, you're at a much wider angle than that. Even that one.
I just posted one from the same side you were on.
Yeah.
Same day.
Like if you look there, yeah, you're at a much wider angle, man.
No, I'm not. I'm right there by the Marriott on the park bench where I always go. Man, it's a green park bench. I sit down, put my camera stand on the little holes that it has because my camera stand fits perfectly in those holes.
Is the park bench a flat earther?
I don't know.
It's stained with Chick-fil-A sauce.
Yeah, ketchup.
You eat ketchup at Chick-fil-A?
Greasy hands.
That's